What up, everybody? Good morning and happy Thursday. DK Show up on the air on your radio dials 105.1 FM, 790 AM. Also available online to stream it up at sportstalk1051.com. Download the app, take it on the go. You got your smart devices, smart speakers, video streams also up and rolling. Facebook and YouTube here this morning. You're already up and at it. Big thanks for making us part of your start to this morning. What do we got on a good old game plan for us? Last night, Bucks began their season with a win, defeating the Philadelphia 76ers 124 to 109. So we know the Bucks did not have Chris Middleton. 76ers did not have Joel Embiid and Paul George, but Bucks still with behind Damian Lillard, who scored 30 points. 6 of 12 from three was hot there in that third quarter there. But Giannis also 25 points, 14 rebounds, 7 assists for the Greek Freak. Prince, a lot. Give up. I was going to say giving up. Prince also dropping 16. He was on fire from 3, 4 of 5, and then Portis coming off the bench, shooting a solid 7 of 10 from the field with 16 points to lead the Bucks to their first victory in game 1 of the series. So Bucks will make their home debut coming up tomorrow as they'll take on the Bulls and such. But solid start for the Bucks. Obviously, you know, it was a little bit of a slow start in the first quarter. If you're watching or listening on the dials there, a little bit of a slow start. Definitely had some issues securing some offensive boards. Philadelphia was able to get 17 offensive rebounds in the game last night. But Bucks shooting 43, just a little over 43% from three, 53.8% overall from the field, and playing some solid defense against Maxey. If you look at the box score, it's like, well, Maxey had 25 points. But give credit to Gary Trent Jr., who was the man that had to defend him for the majority part of the game. Took 31 shots for Tyrese Maxey to get 25 points. So making things difficult on Tyrese Maxey last night was Gary Trent Jr. So we'll talk some hoops. We'll talk some Bucks, recapping the win from last night. On pace to go 82-0 so far this season. We'll talk some football. Packers have a new helper over at practice. Robert Saleh spotted at practice yesterday. Matt LaFleur chatting with the media afterwards called it a, quote, fluid situation. Said that Robert Saleh is helping the Packers on the offensive side of the ball by giving them a defensive perspective. Just helping out for now, staying until today, and then going back to his family on Friday. So we'll see if maybe we'll get more of Robert Saleh at Packers practice, helping out the green and gold and such. But a question or a pondering thought that many had after Robert Saleh was let go by the Jets: would a team like the Packers potentially bring him on board to help out in an advisory role? And it kind of seems that way at this point in time. Kind of seems like that's going to be the case here. So, but don't know if he's officially employed with Green Bay. That's again Matt LaFleur kind of just calling it a fluid situation right now. So I like the move though. I mean, I know everybody's going to be thinking about, well, he's a defensive coach. Why isn't he helping out the defensive side? For one thing, I think Matt LaFleur is exactly right when he says, you know, Jeff Halfley, that's his group, and you know, doing a solid job right now. You bring in Robert Saleh, and yes, they work together in San Francisco. Jeff Halfley was Robert Saleh's defensive backs coach there, but you know, you don't necessarily want to bring somebody in, and then it's like, you know, oh, you know, we've been in those situations before. Are you getting your shoulder watched over or anything like that? But I like the idea of bringing Robert Saleh in, giving a perspective to the offense from a defensive-minded head coach, in terms of like, okay, defensive coaches, if we see this look, this is what we're going to do, or this is how we would adjust, and this is what we're going to come attack a front if you show it this certain way. So I think the more input, the more info that you get, the better. I hope Robert Saleh sticks around and is able to help out Green Bay throughout the rest of the season here. But not a bad practice report yesterday too, in terms of the injury front, because Devontae Wyatt returned to practice yesterday for the Packers. The only players to not participate: Corey Ballentine, Elton Jenkins, which we've seen that before on his Wednesdays. Josh Myers did not practice, dealing with a wrist. So again, today's going to be the big one, today and Friday. A lot of times Wednesdays for those veterans, those type of injuries, they'll sit out. Quay Walker, though, did not participate, as he's still in concussion protocol at this point in time. But good to see Devontae Wyatt back out on the practice field, because I think it's fair to say that he was the best defensive lineman so far this year when he was out on the field. So, but we'll talk some Green and Gold throughout the morning here as we get set to take on the Jaguars Sunday at noon. What else do we got on dock? We'll do some outdoor tidbits with Mr. Jake Boakes coming up a little over a couple hours from now, as we inch closer and closer to the unofficial holiday of Wisconsin, the deer hunting season next month, deer gun season next month. But if you got any questions, maybe some pheasant hunting questions, some deer hunting questions, still some fishing questions, whatever the case may be, text those questions on over to us on that Shoe Doctors bullpen line at 715-830-1912. We'll throw some college football talk in here too, as we get set for the big matchup at Camp Randall, with Penn State coming to town, going up against the Badgers. So we are just a couple of days away from that kickoff. Throw a little bit of talk in there. What if the Badgers win that game? Then how does the whole season kind of change perspectives and such? But we'll throw some college football talk in there too. We're inching closer to the start of the World Series. First game coming at you tomorrow too. So maybe we'll throw a little baseball talk into our game plan for us here this morning. Got some receiver defer at a little about 7:40, 7:45, and then we'll do some throwback Thursday. A little throwback Thursday just past 7:00. So, but plenty to get to here this morning. So let's jump right into it, shall we? We'll talk some Bucks and talk some Packers to open up things here this morning. The two big stories in the Wisconsin sports world right now. Bucks picking up a win in the first game of their season. So we'll talk about that. Early thoughts, kind of your impressions from what you saw in the game last night. I know it's only one game, and we still got 81 more of these things to go, but little maybe overreaction, first impressions sort of thing. So hit me up. What if you watched, listened to the game last night, your impressions, your thoughts, and then we'll talk some Packers with the Robert Saleh at practice yesterday for the Green and Gold. I like it. I hope we get more of it too. But we'll start to kind of take a look a little bit at the game coming up against the Jaguars before that big matchup against Detroit next week. Hopefully, we as fans could overlook maybe Jacksonville. We could talk about it, but I hope Green Bay isn't overlooking Jacksonville and kind of taking a little peek at their schedule and seeing Detroit there, and then bye right after Detroit too. So, I mean, look at this. After Jacksonville, you got Detroit, you got a bye, then you're at Chicago. That's going to be a tough game. San Francisco on Sunday. I mean, I know San Francisco's banged up, but I mean, still, that's going to be a tough test. Man, that's already hunting and Thanksgiving time there. But then you got Miami on a short week. Tua is going to be coming back. They're going to be better. And then at Detroit. Then you look at Seattle. I mean, schedule's getting tough. Schedule's going to get tougher here for Green Bay. That's why Jacksonville is a big game in terms of you've got to go down to Jacksonville and you've got to pick up a win in Florida. And I know Green Bay at times hasn't played their best in Florida. I mean, the last time they played in Jacksonville was a couple years ago. It was a Saints home game. Remember that? They had to move it to Jacksonville. Jameis Winston, the Saints, just dominated the Packers in week 1 of the season. So you look at the rest of the schedule coming up here, it's gonna get tougher. That's why I look at this Jacksonville game as like, you better come out with a win here. Not saying Green Bay's not gonna win any of those games in their tough schedule, but win the games you're supposed to win. Win the games that you're supposed to win. So, all right, let's get things going here this morning. We'll talk some hoops and we'll talk some football to open up things here. Join in the convo. What else is on your mind here? Hit me up with a text, all right? 715-830-1912. Quick break. We'll be back after these few words. Tailgate this season with our good friends from Hy-Vee here in Eau Claire, whether it's some Dan Good Burgers, whether it's some Man Cave Lights, or some apparel to represent your favorite teams, like your favorite high school, your college, or your pro teams. They've got the hookups on everything over there for this tailgating season. And don't forget, this Saturday, too, the 26th, got their trick-or-treating event over at Hy-Vee starting at 10 a.m. So get the kids on over there, dress them up in the costumes, and do some trick-or-treating over there, too. Speaking of which, the Mobile Man Cave tonight is going to be at Jeffers Park for the Eau Claire Nationals Trunk or Treat event, too. So bring the kiddos down by, get some candy, get some trick-or-treat bags over there, too, with our good friends from Woods and Water Realty. Woods and Water Realty also a partner of the Mobile Man Cave, along with Carpet City Flooring Center, the Elbow Room, Hy-Vee, and Toyson Ford and Woods and Water Realty. So a lot of stuff going on here as we get set. It's going to be that time of year. As soon as we get done with trick-or-treating, it's going to be Thanksgiving. It's going to be Christmas. And then Bob's probably on another vacation. Oh, wait, he's right there. Sorry,
I'm always here.
Yeah.
Well, maybe I wasn't here last week, but
how was the Hall of Fame?
The Hall of Fame was out of this world. It's
Yeah.
a bucket list. Cooperstown is you got to find Cooperstown. Anybody that's been out there knows what I'm talking about. It's not like driving on the interstate and you take the Cooperstown exit. No way. Cooperstown, I mean, it's hard to find. We had GPS on the phones and everything else, and we were whining. I thought I was in a Deliverance movie, and I was in such backwoods and everything else. It was unbelievable. And we were driving, getting there at night, and so it was an interesting journey, to say the least. And you wonder, where's this town? And then, because we had a hotel on the edge out in the country someplace, and then the next morning when it was daylight, we got up and went downtown, and wow, did that town come alive. I mean, it's baseball. If you take G-Man out there, he'd be broke in about 2 hours buying jerseys and balls and bats and history. And I could go on and on about what I saw. Henry Aaron has a tremendous display area there. They really have done it right with him. And one of the things I looked at is home run balls. Like 710 is there, 711, 712, 713, 714, 716. I don't know where 715 is. I don't know. It's obviously in somebody's personal connection or collection, just like what they say on the news this morning. I just heard
Ohtani's 50th, yeah.
$4.4 million, something like that. But Henry Aaron's 715th home run ball is not in the Hall of Fame, but just about everything else, his bat for his 3,000th hit, his bat for, I don't know, RBIs, and, it just, and there's pictures. You're not, of course, you should get on social media a little bit more, like on Facebook. I've got Facebook pictures of that, and they've got the Eau Claire Bears are in the Hall of Fame.
Nice.
Out in Cooperstown.
That's awesome.
Yeah, the Eau Claire Bears are there. And you go through the hall where they're not busts, they're plaques. Like in the Football Hall of Fame, they're the busts, the full head, but in the Hall of Fame in baseball, they're just the plaques with their likeness there. It's in bronze or whatever it is, but they're beautiful, they're well done. But that hall is just something else. They've got the first class that is in the Hall of Fame, Babe Ruth and Ty Cobb. There's 5 of them. Walter Johnson, I've got it on my phone so I can go back and check. And then they're right in the middle. And then they work from all the eras. They're from like in 7-8 year increments.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just so well done. And it's so neat to see Robin Yount and Paul Molitor and Warren Spahn and Mickey. Everybody in the Hall of Fame is there. And it's just, it's really a special place. And then I went to right down the street from the Hall of Fame is Doubleday Field, the home of baseball, where baseball started. And I've got neat pictures of that. And if you want to rent it, you can rent Doubleday Field and take a group out there and play. I think they said it's like $400 or $500 an hour, but it's a full baseball field. I looked, center field is 390 feet from home plate. They've got the bleachers there that are small. It's smaller than Carson Park, but still you can get a nice crowd in there, whatever, two night, dugouts, and it's very well done. It's an old brick facade,
Mm.
and it's very, very well done with plaques that tells you everything about it. And if you want to do it, and the thing is, I thought about you. Now, why I wasted my time thinking about you, I don't know. But I thought about you when I was doing it, because we went there. We were going to be there Saturday morning. So Friday and Friday night we were driving, and it was dark by the time we got there, like I said. But one of the cities we went by was Springfield, Massachusetts.
Basketball.
And they had NBA Hall of Fame. I said,
Mhm.
I didn't realize we were going to go by there. I could have knocked off two
Yeah.
in one trip. So you ought to put a group together for 4 or 5 days and go out, see the Basketball Hall of Fame, because then you can get on the bus and it's not that far to Cooperstown, and go to the Baseball Hall of Fame, plus visit a lot of other neat things out there.
Mhm.
It would be a great trip for the sports people.
Yeah.
It really would, because you can knock off 2 Hall of Fames right there.
Yeah. Canton maybe a little bit too in Ohio, kind of, sort of.
Well, that
Can we make it a little
That
detour?
would be, you'd fly out there and then you take
Mhm.
a bus around that area and then fly home. But I don't know if you could work Canton into that. It might be a little bit of too
Mhm.
much of a journey.
Gotcha.
But I think you could do that by going to a football game or something else out there. But you could go to Springfield, Massachusetts, and Cooperstown in one trip, 4 or 5 day trip, and
That would have been perfect for you, because Bo Ryan just got in. The ceremony was
I
just
know
there,
it, I
so
know it,
a couple weeks ago.
and that's what made me mad. I didn't do enough. My own fault. I didn't do enough research. But we were going by about 5 o'clock on Friday night,
Mhm.
and of course it's going to be closed. But the Basketball Hall of Fame in Springfield, Massachusetts, and the Baseball Hall of Fame in Cooperstown, it'd make a great trip for
Yeah.
sports fans. That's for sure.
Absolutely. I just Googled quick the 715 home run ball.
Yep.
It's actually at the Brave Stadium and the bat on display.
It is. Okay.
So,
all right. I'm sure
somebody said
yeah.
Hank Aaron wanted it there.
Well,
So
that's fine. Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, he's got a wonderful display that they really, it's a couple of rooms,
Mhm.
more than anybody else in baseball. He really does. He has more than anybody else. But the Hall of Fame traces the history of women in baseball. Some of those early teams, the Rockford Chirpers or whatever they were. But it was a great experience. And I'll tell you, it was hard to leave. I mean, I got pictures of everything that goes, that's for sure. And then you walk through the town of Cooperstown, and there are all kinds of these sports memorabilia shops. And you can buy a baseball sign from everybody from soup to nuts, basically. And it's interesting, the value of some of these balls. Some of these balls are worth, $49.99, and one with David Ortiz. And I don't know why this would be, but David Ortiz, the Red Sox, now
Mhm.
does the color. He has a signed baseball there that's like $699.
Wow.
I don't know what the reason for that is, but the variance in the prices. You want Molitor ball sign, you want a Yount ball sign, Warren Spahn ball sign. They've got them, and you can buy game worn jerseys out there. It's unbelievable. Game used bats. It's the walking around Cooperstown. It was really enlightening. I mean, that town is baseball. Like Abner Doubleday said, we got to do something to make Cooperstown viable.
Mhm.
Let's put a baseball Hall of Fame here. And they did. And wow, what a place.
That's awesome.
It is. It's really worth the visit.
That's awesome. That's so cool. So
there are a lot of interesting facts. One of the interesting facts I saw, this was done in 2020. The value of Major League Baseball teams, the Yankees and the Dodgers are up on top.
Mhm.
Every baseball team except one is now worth over $1 billion. What team do you think is not worth $1 billion right now?
The team that's not worth $1 billion.
Kind of surprised me because of where it is.
Is it one of these teams that we know that doesn't spend a lot?
Yep.
Okay. Is it?
And they've had success over the years.
Is it the Marlins?
Yeah.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Good guess, yeah.
When you said surprise where it was at, that's kind of where, like, Florida. I'm like,
Marlins.
okay.
They on the thing they said Miami Marlins, but the Florida Marlins, they're the only team in Major League Baseball not worth $1 billion. I think they saw the Brewers worth $1.2 billion.
Mhm.
But Miami's only worth 880 million or something like that. Only.
Yeah, only. But yeah, you're right. Down in Florida, you would have thought that would have been
Yeah, that's
part of the.
Miami. A
Yep.
lot of money down there, Fort Lauderdale, that whole area. But people don't go to baseball there. They got better things to do in that kind of weather, I guess.
So Tampa Bay's even worth more than
Yeah,
that.
every
Wow.
team but one was worth over $1 billion.
Interesting. That is interesting.
Yeah, there were so many interesting facts. I wish I'd had a notebook with me because to write down some of these things because it really is an if you're inclined to, if you grew up playing, every kid grew up, I don't care if you're a girl or a boy, you grew up playing baseball in the yard with your brothers and sisters or whatever, and you can appreciate this. They start you off, they say, now the first thing you want to do is go up to the second floor theater and watch the history of baseball. And it is really I don't know if Ken Burns did it, and it's only about 15 minutes, so it's not like it takes you all day. And you start there, and then you go out, and they say go to the second floor, then go to the third floor, then down to the first floor. And that's where the gift shop is. And I'm telling you, it's pricey.
Yeah.
It is pricey. But it's well worth it. I mean, it is, you go around Cooperstown, that's the only place that can sell Hall of Fame.
Right.
The rest of them will say Cooperstown and this, that, and the other thing. And it is, but it's worth the trip. And it's like I said, I thought of you, put together a sports fans tour and go to Springfield, Missouri, or Massachusetts rather, and out to Cooperstown. And, maybe when I went this last week might be the time to go because you got the beautiful fall colors out there.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it's just, it is really a different world out there. It's really, really something. Just don't try and drive around Boston.
Yeah.
Because anybody that's been around Boston, it's the worst city in the world to drive in that I've been in. Big cities, I've been in London and New York and Chicago and you name it. Miami's not good either, but Boston, because it's, tied there to the back bay and everything, it's hard. It's unbelievably hard to drive in that town.
Well, knowing her driving skills, how did Morgan ever live over there?
She didn't have a car.
Oh, that's probably smart then.
But talk to a cab driver in Boston, and he said, I said, how do you like driving cab in Boston? He said, I moved here 8 years ago from New York, and I want to go back to New York because the New York traffic isn't as bad as this. But Boston is a beautiful city. But anyway, as I go along, I might think of other things that jumped out at me. But that hall of plaques, that first class, 5 of them in that first class, and you look at that, and that's baseball. Walter Johnson and Cy Young, Babe Ruth, whatever. And you walk in, it's got statues of 3 guys: Lou Gehrig, Roberto Clemente, and Jackie Robinson. 3 guys that really were unbelievable players, unbelievable human beings, and did so much for others, but suffered their own tragedies in their own way. But 3 life-size statues of those 3 guys when you first walk in, and I guess that kind of gets your attention of what you're going to see. It's more than just statues and plaques, and it's a lot of stats, but there's some background stories about some of these things that these people did for their communities. There's a history of one wing devoted to Latin baseball, Latin American baseball, because that's been so prominent out there. And it's just, it was an experience for me. Baseball is my favorite sport. Grew up playing baseball, and to me, it was really a major check mark on my bucket list.
That's awesome.
Major. It really, and anybody, like I said, that's got any love of baseball, it's worth the trip.
That's awesome. That's so cool to hear. Well, I'm glad you were able to do that.
Yeah, and when your little guy Hudson gets a little bit older, like I said, I'd seriously think about putting together a trip out there and take some people along with us, taking some fans along, because I know you'd have no trouble filling it up.
Yeah, that would be awesome. That'd be really cool.
Yeah, and go in the fall when the colors are there, about the first week in October, bang.
Yep.
It can, it's really something.
Hit it right after, because we know the Basketball Hall of Fame just got done. So around that time, that'd be perfect.
Yep, it's good, and it's neat. And I didn't see any live Hall of Famers there, but they said a lot of times there'll be some of the people that are some of the guys in the hall that will be walking through with their families or this, that, and the other thing. There weren't any there that day,
Mhm.
but
Never know, though.
no, you never
Never
know.
know.
But I mean, it's just it's a living encyclopedia. You know, we
Mhm.
don't use that word very much anymore, but it's a living encyclopedia of baseball. It is just the history of baseball and the ins and outs. They've got it so well done that it is really nice to see. I mean, and I took a lot of pictures. A lot of Brewers. Raleigh Fingers, of course, is in there,
Mhm.
and his jersey, and Warren Spahn, the story of Warren Spahn. So those are the things I was really looking for and found. But if your favorite team is St. Louis or Chicago or New York, whatever the case may be, it's worth a trip to Cooperstown. It's worth a trip just to get to Cooperstown because it's like I said, it's not like, well, I'm going to the Hall of Fame in Minneapolis. Go to Minneapolis. You got to find Cooperstown first
Mhm.
before you ever find the Hall of Fame. But it was really a fun trip and an unbelievable stop at the Baseball Hall of Fame.
Awesome. So cool. So cool. Well, we're going to talk a little World Series coming up here too. That first game starts tomorrow between the Dodgers and the Yankees. So we'll hit that up. Bucks tipped off their season last night. James with a quick message. Damian looked motivated last night. It wasn't just because he scored 30, but he looked more like Dame time that I was expecting when we traded for him. So,
And that's exactly, I don't know who sent you that note, but I didn't watch the whole game, but I was watching enough of it. That's exactly the same thought that I had.
mhm.
Damian Lillard in this one game at least looks like he now fits
Yes.
with the Milwaukee Bucks.
Mhm.
Last year it was kind of where do I belong? How do I do it? This
He
and
looked
that.
more comfortable last
He
night.
looked like
Yep.
he comfortable, he fits. I think maybe last year, and again, this is just me on the outside looking in, maybe last year he thought, well, I'm playing with Giannis, one of the top 2 or 3 best players in the world. What's my role here?
Right.
I'm a great player, but do I defer to Giannis? I don't think he's worried about that this year,
Mm-mm.
and I don't think he should be, because I think the Bucks are going to be a lot better if he handles the ball more than Giannis, because
Mhm.
Giannis gets kind of loose with the ball, and and he is as great a player as he is. I think Damian can make him even better.
Mhm. I totally agree, and I know, he's talked about last year quite a bit. And one note too that I kind of forgot about that they mentioned last year. If you remember last year, Dame said he didn't even work out a whole lot in the offseason because he didn't want to. He thought he was getting traded, so he didn't want to get hurt while training. So he really wasn't maybe in the greatest of shape. And apparently, he just like worked his butt off this offseason in his typical routine. I know he had some family stuff. I think he was going through a divorce, so he was moving away from his family through that time. We heard stories too where, even when Doc Rivers came, Doc was trying to spend a lot of time with him because he was by himself. Factor all that in, and then changes of coaches halfway through. That's a lot. He seemed more comfortable last night. I
Yeah,
know
he
it's just
did.
one game, but you're right, and I agree with you. I want the ball in Dame's hands. No offense to Giannis, but you get that pick and roll like we saw last night working, and he's got his mark on that 3-point line like he was last night. Yeah, that's what I think what we expected last year.
I agree with you. And they started a little slow, and I
Yep.
thought, oh boy, what's going to happen? They don't have Embiid, they don't have Paul George. If they were there, the Bucks could get beat by 30. But then they picked it up. They got more comfortable, and as a famous basketball player once said, practice. It's just practice. You know, and I think maybe in every player's mind, you played, I played. Not obviously at that level, but you do get kind of bored at practice, this, that, and what does practice really mean? I mean, it takes a special person, athlete, to be focused in practice, so like a Michael
I was
Jordan,
just yeah, that's the name I
like
thought.
they are in the
Yep.
game, and that makes a difference. So I think this team is
Mhm.
now in game. Well, it's only one game, but I think they'll get in more game mode as they go along. I don't expect them to beat the Celtics in the East,
Right.
and maybe third is realistic in the East,
Mhm.
something like that. But I expect them to be. They'll have a say in who wins the championship.
I agree, and it was kind of went on a little grind my gears yesterday because it's still the whole narrative, and they were talking about it pregame yesterday about But the day before they were talking about everybody's paying attention to the Bucks this year to see how well they do, because if they don't do well, then Giannis is going to be on the move. I mean, they're back to that whole narrative, and it frustrates me because what haven't the Bucks done to make Giannis happy? Like, every move that has been made has been because of Giannis, and they're not sold on. I've seen people picking them as 7th in the Eastern
I
Conference.
saw
and
that too, and I thought, come on.
I know, and it's just, you know what? Sleep on them. That's fine. I think they're better than what people are giving them credit for. We saw Gary Trent Jr. last night. I know he only had 10 points, but I thought he did a really good job defensively on Maxey. Maxey had to shoot 31 times just to get to 25 points last night. Prince, he's probably going to be a bench player when Middleton gets back, but he was hot from 3. These role players stepping up too. So I know it's just game 1. I don't want to overreact to one game, but they looked like a solid, cohesive unit last night.
And answer this question for me, and maybe I'm overreacting or overly critical. How is Connaughton still on that team?
I wonder what I was looking at minutes this morning to see what the rotation was like. And it was pretty much 8 players. And then I'm like, okay, when Middleton's back, whose minutes are going to get cut? And I think it's going to be Pat's. I wonder if it's Pat's.
Because I was watching Connaughton, and I mean, he can't rebound with the big boys. He's not quick enough to play defense anymore. He's a good, steady player. But is that going to be enough contribution that this team is going to need to make a run at it? I just don't see him as a future Buck. I don't know.
Because we know Doc has that shorter rotation.
Yep.
He wants to play the veterans, and I'm like, and I know Middleton's going to be eased on in and such, but I was looking at it and I'm like, okay, you got your 5, and you have Portis, and then you're not taking minutes from him. Prince is going to go back to the bench when Middleton's coming back. He's going to be a factor in there too. So it's like I think Pat's going to get his minutes are going to get cut.
I think Connaughton's going to be, and he's been a good, steady player, but you can just see the erosion in his game. Last year, he had moments, but not enough. And I think
the consistency.
Yeah, I think Connaughton, and there's one thing about consistency, but there's another thing about playing at the level you've got to play at to be in the NBA and be a difference maker or a helper. Just filling out a uniform and being the 5th guy on the floor. But I watched him last night and I thought, I don't think there's room for this guy when Middleton comes back.
Yeah. Giannis, he had another double-double, almost a triple-double, 7 assists there too. But I think he's at that point too. He doesn't need to be and I think, who was it last night? I can't remember who said it last night before the game too. Giannis is probably going to have to be a guy, doesn't have to be the leading scorer, defer to Dame a little bit more.
He doesn't have to be the leader all the time.
Right, exactly. So I think, utilize that. I think they're more comfortable. They probably understand it, and I think people are sleeping on the Bucks this year. I really do. I really do.
Too. Yeah, I think too. I think there's a lot of potential there. And Damian Lillard last night, when I was watching the game as the game got further along, he looked so comfortable and he looked so relaxed. I mean, he came down and made a couple of moves and took 3-point shots, foot or 2 behind the line, bang, bang, bang. They went in. I thought, man, that guy
when he's on, he's on. Yeah,
he was just comfortable.
He's a lot of fun to watch.
So
when his
easy
game's on.
for him.
I know, right?
Yeah.
Glad he's on my team.
Yeah, I agree with you.
Bucks overall shot just under 54%, 43% from 3. I think one thing, and Doc mentioned it after the game too, in early portions of the game, it was really a big factor. The offensive boards, they gave up too many offensive boards. And I mean, that's one thing too, because the Bucks definitely had the size advantage last night, and they were more physical, and you could tell play a little bit more physical defensively, but they were giving up a little bit more offensive rebounds, which they got to clean up there too. But one game, they're on pace for 82-0.
Yep, I think so too. I think so too. That's good. It's better than being on the pace for 0-82.
Yep. So a lot to like. A lot to like there. No doubt about it. All right, we got to take a quick break here. We'll be back with more, but your thoughts really quick. We had Jeremy said, great game for the Bucks, and those new pieces with Wright, Prince, and Trent are going to play huge roles for the Bucks try not to overreact, but the Bucks are definitely being slept on. So I would agree.
Yep,
I would
I
agree.
think so too.
All right. More thoughts? Keep them coming. Hit us up with a text 715-830-1912. We'll be back to finish up the first hour after these quick words. Just a couple days away from the big game at Camp Randall Stadium. Are you going to be at the game Saturday night? Penn State?
Absolutely.
Oh,
I'll be
boy.
in my seats Saturday night, 6:30 kickoff. I remember, we hadn't played Penn State for years and years and years. They came in as a ranked team in the 1970s.
Mm-hmm.
Joe Paterno and the whole gang. You know who the Badger quarterback was that beat them?
Is it Randy Wright?
Nope.
No. Who?
Right down the road.
Right down the road?
Greg Bolig.
Thank you. Yep.
Greg Bolig was a
Yep.
quarterback that beat Penn State, and really, that was in the it's about early to mid 70s.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have the exact year. I'm thinking it's 73, 74, something like that. And that was a great game. I
Yeah.
was there for that one too.
Badgers playing well in the last 3 weeks.
Yeah, they have. They played a lot better. Hopefully
Yeah.
they can turn. I even this quarterback Locke. One time he did it, but that's more than he's ever done it before. He faked that handoff, went around the end, and ran in for a touchdown. Man, it's been there all year. I don't know if somebody woke him up or shook his helmet and said, "Hey, kid, look,"
Mm-hmm.
or if they showed him on the film, or if he saw it himself. I don't know, but it took me back to the days of Russell Wilson.
Mm-hmm.
I bet he did that, I don't know, 5-6 times during the season. Faked that handoff and ran around the left end. All you can do is watch that end. They crash down. Can't catch you.
Right.
So hopefully Locke is seeing the field better because he's going to have to, because Penn State is very, very good.
And they're coming off of a bye too, Penn State. So
they'll be healthy.
Yeah, but there's no question. Offensively and defensively, they've been playing better. I know you look at the opponents, but still,
Rutgers. Everybody picked Rutgers to beat the Badgers, and the Badgers took it to them. And that's what we have to do. That offensive line has to be more aggressive, and they have to call the plays that are going to work better. It's a lot of things that have to come into play here for us to beat Penn State, but I'm optimistic it can be done.
Yeah, the running game's going right now.
Yep.
Walker doing a fantastic job. So just maybe we can finally get that signature win in the Luke Fickell era.
Yeah, and you wonder, guys like Ches Malusi, who opted out of the program now, so he can go back and play his 14th year in college someplace next year. These guys, this has got to end. But, as he's looking, say, did I make a mistake? This team's actually better than maybe I thought it was. I don't know where he's at. I can't imagine he's still in Madison. But he's going to play someplace next year for 6th or 7th year. This stuff has got to end. I mean, between the COVID year, that was 2020.
Mm-hmm.
This is 2024. It's got to end. These guys cannot still be getting COVID exemptions and you play 2 or 3 games and you don't have to play. You can take your red shirt. I don't know how many red shirts these guys get. I don't know the rules anymore. I used to think I knew how this worked, but it just flabbergasted to see how many of these guys are still playing at the age they are.
Mm-hmm. Well, look at some of the quarterbacks that are in their 8th years and that. It's like, holy
What
moly.
they say, there were how many quarterbacks in college that are older than half the quarterbacks in the NFL? Something
there was
like that, some statistic.
What game was it early on in the season? It was like Utah versus Oregon State, maybe. But the combined age of their 2 starting quarterbacks was older than, I think it was was it Bears versus Colts or something like that, with Caleb Williams and Anthony Richardson. But yeah, it was one of those statistics.
Yeah, they've got to get this under control because that's a problem. The transfer portal is a challenge. The NIL is a problem. And when you add on these extended years for these players, it's just too much.
Mm-hmm. I would agree. I definitely would agree. So, well, hopefully you can bring back. I got to imagine if Badgers pull it out on Saturday night, you better be ready to storm the field because I got to imagine students are going to be storming the field over there. But it's going to be a wild night if they pull this off.
Yeah, it will be. It'll be quite a night in Madison if they do. Hopefully they do. I mean, hopefully these guys are starting to feel their way, and you got to be led by your quarterback. And I was encouraged by Locke last week, and he's still far from one of the top quarterbacks in college football. But if he can be competent and, pull a surprise play or two out of his hat like he did in the last game of that keeper for a run for a touchdown against Northwestern. If he can do something like that, Northwestern is not nearly as big and strong as fast as Penn State. You got to take that into account. But still, in all, they've done it before. They beat Penn
Yep.
State when they were in the top 10 before. They can do it again.
Absolutely. So, and yeah, definitely they got to be riding with some confidence right now too. So it's playing a little looser maybe too, and just relax. I don't know, but
I don't know, and
it's
I
yeah.
don't know if what the relationship of the coaches is with Fickle and his coordinators. Fickle, he doesn't coach. He doesn't. I take binoculars and I watch him, and I don't know what he's saying in his headphone, obviously. But when they have their timeouts on the field, the offense will come over, or the defense is on the field, they'll come over. He just stands outside that circle of players, doesn't say anything.
Hmm.
So I don't know how much coaching he really does, obviously, during the week, and who he allows to do the halftime changes and adjustments. If he's just a rally guy, I don't know. I it's hard to say.
Last night we did have a college football game, big one. Liberty 5-0 entered as 28-point favorites. Kennesaw State was 0-6 and 0-10 all time versus FBS teams. Kennesaw State won last night, so
Really? Well,
I love stuff like that too. So
that's why they play the game, as one famous coach once said.
yep, and that was definitely a lot of storm in the field right there. I'm watching some of the highlights now. So Liberty, where Malik Willis played college football.
Oh,
too.
really?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, I think he originally was at Auburn, then transferred to Liberty, and that's where made his name heading into the draft that year. So, speaking of Malik Willis, we'll talk a little Packers coming up. Packers had maybe have a new assistant coach spotted at practice yesterday. We'll talk about Robert Saleh as he was with the Packers yesterday. What did Matt LaFleur say his role is going to be moving forward? Injury report: Packers getting a key player back as well at practice. So talk about that as we start to look at this Jacksonville game. Hopefully, Green Bay's not overlooking it because the schedule gets a little bit tougher after Jacksonville. So 1 hour in, we got a couple more to go here. Stick around. We'll be back after these quick news updates. Second hour kicking off right now.
And before we get into any in-depth talk about, I want to go back Packers or Bucks or whatever World Series. I want to go back to the Hall of Fame
Mhm.
because one of the things I forgot to mention this, and it just popped into my head. Like I said, I wish I had a notebook, but one of the things that was Pete Rose is in the Hall of Fame for his, most hits, and his spikes are there in uniform. But there's also an interactive display there where you can obviously let them know your feelings about Pete Rose being in the Hall of Fame. Should he be in it? Should he be not? Answer some questions. And I did it. And I said, yeah, I think he should be for his playing days. He deserves, because everybody else in there outside of Casey Stengel and Jim Leyland and some of these other guys were in there because of their playing expertise, not their managing. And so I said, yeah, I think there's, and you talk to people about, and you overhear conversations, they said, oh, he should be in. He should be in. I think the average fan wants Pete Rose in the Hall of Fame, but there was an interactive display there that you could get on and express your opinion about whether they'll go any place with it in the future. How long it's going to be there, I don't know. But him just passing away, of course, is going to be interesting to see if and when they take action on Pete Rose. But it's out there at the Hall of Fame right now.
Interesting. I did not know that either. So, we're going to talk we're going to talk a little football coming up here as well. First, I want to give a uh, best of luck shout out too, because I know we were talking about Madison down, but also Madison going on the equestrian teams. It's state down there this week. I know Chi High, Eau Claire Memorial, and Fall Creek, which Backyard Dreams helped out over there too. We made a donation for there. And best of luck. I know that's a lot of work for those teams going down there this weekend too. So.
I'll tell you, Chippewa Falls has won that contest many, many times,
Mhm.
and the Eau Claire Elk Mound team is getting strength all the time. I know some of the coaches and the horses and the kids, and they work hard at it, and they're excited to get down there. And it's like going to the state tournament. It
Mhm.
really is. It doesn't get the notoriety, obviously, but it's quite a competition down there, and they've got to know not only how to ride, they've got to know hippology about the horses, and identify strengths and weaknesses of a horse as far as its conformation and things like that.
Yep.
It's a very intense competition, and I saw that article. So yeah, I'd like to add my 2 cents too. Good luck, and
Yep.
enjoy it, and bring back some more hardware.
Absolutely. I know a lot of playoffs are going on, and football will start tomorrow and such. But yeah, I want to make sure we give a tip of the cap to the equestrian teams over there too. So
Absolutely.
Yep.
Yep. Yeah, there's a lot of those kind of activities that fly under the radar. So I'm glad we could help out with some of the backyard dream money,
Yep, absolutely. That's what it's for, right?
because they're not a lot of places. They're not funded.
No.
It's kind of a club type team.
Yep.
And so they're not under the auspices of the school, really, like a football or a basketball team would be.
Exactly.
They're from Chippewa Falls, but
Mhm.
kind of on their own.
Yep. 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 And then yeah, you mentioned Chippewa Falls. I mean, that's kind of a what a program over there. And I know Brandon has a new article up talking about that too, and
Mhm.
Brandon will be with us tomorrow too. But yeah, you could check that out at chippewa.com or pick up a paper and read it over there too. So, and then of course, high school football playoffs kick off tomorrow night too. So, a lot of local teams in action.
Yeah,
So,
there are, and hopefully they all do very, very well. And again, by the time we get to what is Thanksgiving week, about when the championships are held down there in Madison, although Thanksgiving is a little late this year, the 28th. I'm not sure if it's going to be that weekend or the weekend before.
it'll be like the 15th. I'm
Oh,
looking at the
really?
brackets
Okay.
right now. So, yeah, a little bit. Yeah, because usually it's like that for, or no, the following week. I'm sorry, November 22nd.
Yeah.
November 22nd. So it's like that the 2 days before the opener of gun season, because it's always around that time. So, but yeah, plenty of teams to keep an eye on for sure. So,
And hopefully they all do well. They all maintain their health and just have a good time. And hopefully they don't have to drive school buses down there like I found out. Oh, well, subject for another day. Don't get me started on this.
And I should
Oh.
note too, the 8-player football team is the week before too. So I know we got a lot of our
Yeah, we do.
teams in there too. That Owen Withy's a 1 seed in there. We got McDonald Central Catholic's a 2 seed. So there'll be Clayton's over there too as a 3 seed. So
Where is their championship played?
Wisconsin Rapids.
It is okay.
Yep, at the Lincoln High School over there.
Good.
So I know a couple of years ago, I think they had it at Stanley.
Okay.
But I think, yeah, because I actually asked Brandon about this a couple weeks ago. He said it seems like they've kind of settled on Rapids being that, which is it's right in the middle of the state.
It's in the
So
middle of the state, but is it in the middle of the 8-man football
that's a
geography?
good question. Yeah, that'd be a good question too. So
I don't know, but I
Mhm.
know we've got a lot of, like you said, a lot of 8-man teams have popped up around here, but better not having football at all.
I agree. I agree.
Friday nights without high school football, either 8 or 11-man football, just
hmm
it's not what you need in your community. You got to have that. You got to have that Friday. The Friday night lights have to go on.
Yep. Yep. Let's do a little quick throwback Thursday here. A couple of items of note. Let's go 1943. The Green Bay Packers intercepted 9 passes in a 27-6 victory over the Lions. No, I don't think Xavier McKinney played in that game. So, what else? There was one more I wanted. 1996. The Atlanta Braves played their last game at Fulton County Stadium. They lost to the Yankees 1-0 in Game 5 of the World Series. And then 1998, Ricky Williams became the leading scorer in NCAA Division I history. At the end of the game, he had a total of 428 points. So those are just a couple of throwback Thursdays for this date back in history. As we mentioned, Packers have, as Matt LaFleur said yesterday, it's fluid. But Robert Saleh was spotted at practice on the practice field for the Packers yesterday. Matt LaFleur was asked about it afterwards, said that Robert has spent the week with them, is going back after today or sometime today to his family in California. Called didn't really say he's officially a part of the staff, but kind of after, I don't know if Robert Saleh is going to be all of a sudden next week working with the 49ers or anything like that. I think, you're helping out one team. That's probably going to be the team that you're going to be helping out throughout the season. But he's not helping out the defense. He's actually helping out the offense. And what Matt LaFleur said yesterday, he's giving the offense and giving Matt LaFleur a defensive perspective on the offense in terms of what they would see, how defenses would prepare for their offenses given what he's seen over there, which I think it's a smart idea. It's a unique idea.
Yeah.
For example, it's like, okay, if you're lining up this way, this is how a defense may attack it or play it and that sort of stuff. So I'm all for it. Bring him on board. Whatever he wants to do, I'm all for it. He's a smart guy.
Yeah, what they always said, bring in some outside eyes.
Yep.
You're not in the routine. You're out of the routine of the Packers, and he might see something that tips off what the defense is doing or would be doing against a certain Packer set on offense. No, I think it's a good idea. And Robert Saleh is obviously a very capable coach. He just got in a tough situation with this Aaron Rodgers deal. Last year he got hurt. This year he's dysfunctional mentally, I think.
Yeah, there's something going on.
Yeah. So he just got caught. And I think in the long run, nobody wants to get fired. Nobody wants to lose their job at that high profile level or any level for that matter.
Mm-hmm.
But I think Saleh probably thinks, I'm glad to be out of that rat race. Because, it's not like he's got to go sell pencils on the street corner to support his family.
Mm-hmm.
But I think he'll land at his feet.
And I think he said too that he kind of wanted to get out of New York, and what better way to get out of New York than going to Green Bay?
Yeah, a little bit different.
A little bit different, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, I think a lot of fans were wondering, was this going to happen as soon as he was fired? Because we know Robert Saleh and Matt LaFleur, they're BFFs, best friends.
I didn't know that till after Saleh got fired, and the speculation was that he would come to Green Bay.
Because was it Saleh was LaFleur's best man at his wedding over there too. So, and Jeff Hafley, who's the defense coordinator for the Packers, was the defensive backs coach for Robert Saleh in San Francisco. So they all know each other. They've got that familiarity with them. So yeah, the more the better. I'm all for it. 100%.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I don't see any downside to it.
Nope. Practice report yesterday, Packers did get one player back. Devontae Wyatt returned to practice after missing the last couple weeks due to an ankle injury. We'll get a better idea on some of the other guys today, but for the most part, team's fairly healthy right now. So
when is the Packer bye?
It is November 10th. So they got 2 more games and then they've got the bye. So week
Well,
10.
this is pretty nice right in the middle of the season because the Vikings are already done with their bye.
Yep.
The Bears are done with their bye. I don't know when the Lions have their bye, but I mean, you play 4 or 5 games and all of a sudden you got a bye. Now you got 10 or 12 more games that you do not have that break.
And I like it at this point too because you got Jacksonville. Then things get a little interesting. You got Detroit after Jacksonville.
Where?
At Lambeau. So I hope, and I know Matt LaFleur's already talked about this, but you don't want to overlook Jacksonville.
Oh,
and
goodness no.
because you're like, oh, we got Detroit coming. Don't take care of your business. But also, so you got Detroit, then the bye, then you're at Chicago, then you've got San Francisco, which I know they're banged up, but we'll see what they are in
By
a few
that
weeks.
time, they could have McCaffrey back.
could be exactly.
Who knows? Debo Samuel healthy. Who knows
Yep.
what might happen?
And then Miami comes over on a short week. Tua's back now. We'll see what kind of version. But then you're at Detroit, at Seattle. So that's a tough portion of your schedule coming up here.
No question, Seattle's better than a lot of people thought they were going to be.
Yep, and then you got to travel to Seattle too. So that's the other part in that thing. So that's why I look at this game against Jacksonville as like, take care of your business. This is a game you should win. You better win it because it's. And looking at this division, you need to rack up as many wins as possible.
Yeah, because what Dallas did or Detroit did to Dallas,
Yeah,
I think woke a lot of people up as far as how good this Detroit team is and maybe how bad Dallas is. But still in all, that was a pretty good shellacking that they put on the Cowboys.
mm-hmm. Yeah, no question about it. So, I will say too that I don't know what it was, and I was talking to Luke about this yesterday. Being at the game Sunday was one of the loudest games I've ever been at.
Oh, really?
I don't know if it was just where I was sitting, but it was one of the loudest environments I've ever been at. And I don't know if it's just because uncommon opponent, Texans coming in 5-1. It was a weird game to be at because I feel like that team Green Bay last year, you turned the ball over 3 times, you lose that game. Credit to the defense for keeping them into it. Especially when you throw a pick and it was nearly a pick 6 and you hold them to just a field goal. But that's where I give a lot. That Daniel Whelan, by the way, that punter, I was watching him in warmups. If you go to a game, go early and watch him warm up. I'm not kidding. He was 5 yards within his own end zone, and he was bombing them to the other opponent's 25 first bounce. Not where it landed, first bounce. That's how far that guy was cranking them.
Wow. I know he's been an asset.
Yeah. And
including on that hold on that last field goal.
That was so where we were sitting, pretend you were the holder. That's where we were like, and my throat dropped when I saw that low snap. I'm like, oh crap. But that's how, and the spirals coming off that so tight, like tight spot. It was awesome. Like watching these ball boys trying to backpedal and trying to catch it was probably the funniest part about it because they sure didn't look athletic on those. But he was just cranking them out there.
And you hope the history of the Packers kick coverage, you hope he's not too good a punter and he out kicks the coverage and these guys are flailing around like wounded turtles trying to tackle somebody because, he can enhance the position of our team on the field. But these coverage teams have got to be able to adapt to the fact that this kid can kick the ball. You got to get down there.
Yep. And I know he's had some good hang time with it too, but yeah, I mean, the way he was, I was just like, holy moly, that kid's got a leg. Sign him up now, lock him up. Don't let him
and that's one thing you mentioned before the game. And if you go to a game, go early and get in there because I too enjoy watching these punters.
Yeah.
You're sitting in the stands and you don't realize how far they're kicking it until you look at the yard markers that they're on and to where that ball is going. It's just a nice high ball in the air, but you don't realize how far this is going. And everybody's tried to kick a football. And you think, well, how hard can that be? To kick a football 50, 60 yards, it's not easy. And I can't do it, never could do it. Maybe once in a while I hit it perfect and I had a big strong wind at my back, but not on a regular occasion like these guys do. These punters are more fun than watching the place kickers because it's just amazing how high they can put it and that spiral they can put on it and how far they can kick it. Punters don't get enough credit. You know, the field goal kickers are the ones that get all the credit or all the blame.
Yep.
But the punters really can establish the situation in a game like not a lot of other players can.
That's why I was glad to see Matt LaFleur after the game gave him a game ball. He gave away 3 game balls after the game. One was to Whelan, one was to McManus, their kicker, and then his defensive coordinator, Jeff Hafley.
Yeah,
perfect ones for that game. So
exactly. Yeah, when you hold a guy like Stroud to 86 yards passing,
I know, right?
That's an accomplishment.
Yeah, and I know Nico Collins was out, but still to hold when you still got like Stephon Diggs and CJ Stroud under 100 yards passing, that's pretty darn impressive.
How much of a cliff has Stephon Diggs fallen off since his days with the Vikings and the Bills?
I don't know, but he got
I don't know if it's mental with him or physically he's deteriorating. I don't know, or
he got into that scuffle again with Jair before the game, and fans saw it, and that stadium got loud when they saw that. And I think you heard some of the players afterwards, Kenny Clark and that, said that got them going right away. And Jair shut him down and continues to I saw the graphics going out there when Jair matches up against Diggs. It's been like 5 games. And I think he's only got like 20 total receiving yards in that. So got in his head.
You know, and it is. Some guys on some of these teams, they don't have their head in their helmet. You know, when you go into a game and then you'll slap some guy in the face mask, that's a 15-yard penalty. I mean, you know, coach has got to sit down and give me your helmet. You're done. You know, they just can't do that.
Yeah.
And it hurts the team, and that hurt Houston. It did. There's no question about it.
Yeah. Rashawn Gary was probably his best game of the season. You know, beforehand, when we were talking and previewing the game, CJ Stroud was the best quarterback against the blitz this season, numbers wise. And Green Bay only brought 4 almost 50% of the time, but they were getting home. Rashawn Gary had 6 pressures. Eric Wilson had 2 sacks and 4 quarterback hits, for crying out loud. So they were able to manufacture that.
Consistency with Gary is what the key is. I mean, he's got the ability to do it. Why aren't you doing it every week? I mean, you watch him sometimes and it's like he's standing there watching. Like you know, if you're gonna do that, buy a ticket like everybody else that's watching the game.
I think
because he's got the ability.
One player or 2 players, you know, trade deadline coming up. We asked this the other day. What position would you like to see maybe the Packers upgrade at? I wouldn't mind another pass rusher because right now Preston Smith, I'm not seeing a lot, but Lucas Van Ness right now, 4 total pressures on the season. So Gary had 6 in that one game. Lucas Van Ness has 4 so far this year total.
He's got to get better too. He just has to. First round draft choice, you can't play at that level.
I want more from him for sure.
Max Crosby,
that would be something.
Yeah, I hear that more than once. But what would you have? Of course,
a lot.
Of course, dealing with the Raiders, they gave up Devontae Adams for nothing. Of course, I think the Jets took on his whole salary too.
Yep.
But still in all, if you're going to deal with a team, Las Vegas is kind of a dysfunctional front office. And maybe they can steal Max Crosby for give him Quay Walker. I got a whole list of guys they can give him and a 2nd round draft choice, and they'll take it.
You know, and the other part is too, I know we just kind of like, Green Bay's not going to make any moves, and probably they won't make any trades.
No.
But you look at, again, I'll go back to how competitive the division is. I mean, right now, if the playoffs started, every NFC North team's in the playoffs. It's not going to work out that way. I think eventually, you know, Chicago hasn't played a division game yet. You know, you're probably going to beat up on each other, and you may get 3, but probably 2, for sure, 2 teams over there. But with how competitive the division is, does it make it a little bit more antsy for some of these teams to make? Like, I feel like Detroit, if there's one team in the division that's going to try to make a major move, it's going to be Detroit.
Since they lost
Hutchinson. Right, exactly.
He's done for the year, I would imagine. Yeah. He's not coming back.
No, he's done for the. Although they did say there is optimism, and I might have to ask Dr. Crow this tomorrow. If they made it to the Super Bowl, he could play. But got to get there first, too.
Yeah, that's true.
So,
but can't say they're not going to be a leading team to get in there, especially San Francisco is down, and I don't know if they're going to be able to come back or not with their injuries and unhappiness or whatever it is among the locker room,
Right.
and how much the Packers are going to be able, because the Packers got to get better to be in the Super Bowl, in my mind. They've got the potential, but they've got to get better. Rashad Gary has to be there every week.
Mm-hmm.
Lucas Van Ness has to get better. They just have to, and Jordan Love has to get better with the ball of his decision making. He's done well, but he's got to quit throwing interceptions. And so they've got the potential. They've got the team. Could they trade to get more help and get closer to that level? Yeah, they could. I don't want them to give away the ranch, obviously, because they've got a nice team now. But if a couple of these guys step up to where they should be based on their draft level, they don't need a whole lot, but
Right.
they do need to get better.
Surveyor asks, would you give up a 2nd round and a 5th round pick for Max Crosby?
In a minute.
I would too, I think.
Yeah. You bet.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would.
And I give him Quay Walker too.
he ain't playing this weekend, so
is he hurt or what?
He had a concussion. It looked pretty scary in the game.
Oh, well.
I didn't,
don't want to have that happen to anybody,
no.
But I'll tell you, I didn't watch the whole game, and because I was kind of traveling, moving from here to there. But a couple of guys that stepped in playing linebacker that I hadn't seen before.
Wilson was awesome in that game.
Yeah, Wilson, he's the guy. 40 was that 45?
Yep.
Yeah,
yep.
He looked good.
Yeah.
I mean, he was on the ball. I mean, he made one play that was. Quay Walker wouldn't have made it.
Yeah, he had a couple sacks in that game too.
Yep.
And then Evan Williams, that rookie safety, just continues to get better.
Yeah.
It's so interesting to see how things change from week 1 to where we're at now, because Evan Williams had 0 defensive snaps in week 1, 100% last week.
Yeah. Well, they're recognizing talent. Guys are stepping up, and
I think Hafley's recognizing, okay, this works. These guys work together. This, they're and the second half defense, these numbers that they're shutting. I mean, Texans didn't score in the second half again until that field goal with 1 minute 44. And you look at the previous weeks, they've been shutting down teams in the second half.
Yeah.
Which, again, I don't think a lot of us are used to at this point.
But I think the Packers got to get better in the red zone.
Mm-hmm.
They've got to be able to put the ball in the end zone. I think that falls on the coaching staff as far as play calling. You look at because I think Love can move around back there, not obviously like the Kansas City quarterback Patrick Mahomes, but I think they've got to get more creative. You just can't line up 9 guys on a line of scrimmage next to the center and have the quarterback hand the ball to the guy up the middle. I mean, everybody knows where the ball is going. You got to spread this out a little bit because the Packers don't have a drive blocking line. They got a good offensive line, but it's focused on the run and pass option, not drive blocking from the 1 yard line, and that hurts. And I think you just got to be more creative in the red zone.
Yep. All right, let's take a quick break here. We'll have more. Keep your thoughts coming now. All right, whether it's the Bucks, Packers, Badgers. We got World Series also starting tomorrow night. If you want to start to make some picks, you can do that as well. We'll be back in just a couple minutes. We've got some outdoor tidbits coming up next hour, so get those questions on in. Text them to us, 715-830-1912, so we can get them to our good buddy, Mr. Jake Boakes, Conservation Warden for the great state of Wisconsin. Surveyor Sam. Know what grinds my gears? Evan Williams has yet to even break into the conversation for Defensive Rookie of the Year. Number one safety in the NFL via Pro Football Focus, and he's not even in the conversation. Talk about BS. I co-sign that one with you for sure, Surveyor Sam. No doubt about it. We'll get to some
small market.
We'll get to some receiver defer here in a little bit, but we do have the World Series starting tomorrow. Yankees, Dodgers, and I know it's big spending teams going against each other, but from a pure, just a general baseball fan, you've got to be looking forward to this World Series, right? Ohtani, Judge. I mean, the storylines between the two. It's just a baseball. I'm excited for it, and I hope it lives up. And I hope years from now we're still talking about this World Series.
Oh, I'm always excited about the World Series. I don't care who's in it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the only time I really lost a little interest was Houston. After that debacle with Houston and banging the garbage cans, and then they kept winning. They were good teams, no question about it. But the essence of baseball purism wasn't there, and I don't know. That's the only time I really wavered a little bit. But you know, last year watching Texas win that thing was fun to watch, and this year Yankees, Dodgers. I mean, it's traditional baseball, and I go back to the '56 Dodger Yankee World Series, and they've had some great series over the years. But no, I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, hopefully the stars kind of play up to that level, because I don't think anybody wants Ohtani's like 0 for 12 or something like that. I mean, I want to see a classic World Series between a lot of future Hall of Famers. There's a lot of MVPs in this thing. I would agree with what Rob Manfred said the other day. In a normal year, you're talking about Mookie Betts and Juan Soto in this World Series, but those are like second tier behind Ohtani and Aaron Judge.
Oh, there's no question about it. And it'll be interesting to see how Derek Cole pitches to Shohei Ohtani and what happens. It's going to be a good World Series. The Dodger pitching staff is, not up to speed, although Buehler's come back and pitched well, and a couple other guys have too, but I'm not sure how this is going to work, but that's why we watch.
I know it's not going to happen, but man, it would be so cool if we do get to a Game 7 and they have to do it. Let's say Dodgers are holding on to a 1-run lead, one's out, one's on, 2 out, Aaron Judge is up, throw Ohtani on the mound.
Yeah, wouldn't that be something?
That would be just
I'm sure
awesome.
He'd love to. He started throwing.
I know.
They've said, I saw reports or heard reports that he has started throwing a little bit.
Yeah.
So by next year, hopefully his arm is back. And I don't know if this will have any effect on his pitching, but we'll find out. But I'm sure he'll go back on the mound next year.
Because that would be that. I mean, that'd be like, the World Baseball Classic when Ohtani struck out Trout, for his team to win it. But this, World Series, Dodgers, Yankees, that would have been so cool, but probably not going to happen.
And when he signed $700 million, 99% of the people said, "What are you doing? Nobody's worth that much money." He's worth that much money.
Ohtani special.
He is. He is special. And then, in this day and age of unbelievable dollars that are in this sports business, $700 million isn't out of the realm of reality now.
No. I mean, they're making bank with him now. They got the deferred money, but for what they're getting in return from him right now, I mean, they're going to be able to pay that off. There's no question about that.
And I was looking at the Hall of Fame. They really don't have anything for his 50-50 season, but I'm sure they'll have his uniform, and I'm sure they'll have his bat and his shoes. They won't have any of the balls. I think the balls are all
private collections now.
Yeah. What, they sold 4.4 million his 50th or whatever it was, but they'll still do something.
That's crazy for me. First of all, I appreciate, I like the fact when you're talking about Hank Aaron's home run balls, where they're at. I like that they're in the Hall of Fame for fans to enjoy and to look at. So, my question is, okay, Ohtani's 50th went for 4 point whatever. Okay, say he hits 60 or he goes over foot. How much does that value go down? because it's going to go down.
Oh, absolutely.
Like just to spend it's
The only value it'll keep is because it was the ball for the first ever 50-50
50-50. Yep.
player.
Mhm.
But as far as Ohtani, there's no reason he probably can't hit 60 home runs. And when you get in the Hall of Fame too, there are some things in there, not a lot that I saw, but there are a few that are in there from the Pete Louis collection or something like that, on loan from so and so's collection. So some of those things are in there that the Hall of Fame doesn't own. Not a lot, but I did see a few. Most of it does belong to the Hall of Fame.
Mhm. Yeah, it was the previous high price was Mark McGwire's record-breaking 70th home run from the 98 season, which went for $3 million in early 1999. But again, that's gone down in value, I have to imagine, right?
Yep. And I'll tell you, you bring that up, and I'm trying to run back through my mind. Sosa, McGwire, Rafael Palmeiro. There's not much mention of them
Mhm.
for what they did in the
Yeah,
Hall of Fame, if anything. I'm trying to figure if I saw anything.
nothing for Barry or anything in there?
No.
Hmm. Interesting.
Yeah, I'm just now that you mention those things, I don't see that. And is there room in the Hall of Fame to maybe put a wing for the steroid era, so to speak?
Mhm.
I don't know if there's much. I think there's more interest in Pete Rose going into the Hall of Fame or not going into the Hall of Fame than there is putting Roger Clemens, Barry Bonds, Mark McGwire, Sammy Sosa, Rafael Palmeiro, and on and on and on you go, of as great of players as they were. I don't think there's much demand for them to be in the Hall of Fame as there is interest in whether or not Pete Rose gets in.
That might be a good poll question. Say Rob Manfred comes to you fans, says, "All right, you get to choose between one of these two. You can only choose one, Pete Rose or Barry Bonds. Who are you putting in?"
Well, I think Pete Rose would win, Pete Rose would win
Mhm.
80% to 20%, maybe.
I want people
Maybe
to
it's
text me.
90-10. I don't know.
Yeah.
But
I want people to text me that one.
Yeah, that's
Text
my
me.
opinion, but it'd
Mhm.
be interesting to see what other folks think.
Right. And then I'd be curious, does it go generation?
Yeah.
Do younger people say, well, it was Barry because maybe they didn't see Pete Rose or they don't understand, that portion of the history. I don't know. But all right. So, okay, people, hit me up with a text or hit us up with a text. If Rob Manfred put it to a fan vote, says, I'll put one person in the Hall of Fame, I'll throw Commissioner Powers or whatever, it's not going to happen, but you can choose one, Pete Rose or Barry Bonds. Who would you throw in there?
Pete Rose. I think Pete Rose would win
Mm-hmm.
because, Pete was kind of a lovable, not a clown, but he was kind of a goofball in some ways. Barry Bonds was kind of an Aaron Rodgers type personality,
Mm-hmm.
kind of arrogant, kind of all to himself.
Not a good relationship with
Not
media.
exactly,
Yep.
and he reminds me of Aaron Rodgers.
Mm-hmm.
And Pete Rose was, he was. I remember some guys from the station here went down to Nashville.
George
House, our
yep.
old friend George House.
I saw his post on Facebook in that story. Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, he said, Pete Rose was paid to be there, but he was a nice guy, acted like he and I were buddies. He said, had a nice conversation, got a nice picture. They're both smiling, this, that, and the other thing. And he moved on.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Barry Bonds, okay, I'll give you a picture type of thing, but I'm not going to talk to you or this, that, and the other thing. I think Pete Rose would win hands down, but that's my opinion, and I'm from that era.
I'm looking up that story because what was the story that he said that it was the Michael Jordan, basketball great Michael Jordan had quit basketball and was playing in the minor leagues. Our good buddy George said he asked Pete about his chances. Pete responded, Jordan ever made it to the big leagues, I'll come to Eau Claire and buy you a steak dinner. He said he can't see pitches. So
yeah,
that would have been cool.
It's a different athlete to hit that ball at 60 feet, 6 inches away, coming in at 90, 95, even 100 miles an hour. It's, can't see pitches is a good way to describe it.
Yep. All right. Hit us up with some texts or Facebook tweets, whatever the case may be. Rob Manfred.
Or even Cubs fans, Sammy Sosa. Would you have Pete Rose in over Sammy Sosa? Or Mike McGwire? We got a lot of Cardinal fans here. Mark McGwire.
Yeah.
Any of those guys.
Who would you put
in? Those steroid era players. Who would you put in?
Roger Clemens.
Roger Clemens. Who would you put in before Pete Rose?
Mm-hmm. or do you put Pete ahead of him? Yeah, if
Yep,
you could pick one
exactly.
of those guys, who would you do?
Because Pete's
So-
performance on the field as a player was pure.
Mhm.
These guys weren't pure. As a manager, that's a different story, is betting on baseball.
Mhm.
But for his playing skills and accomplishments, it's a different story.
We'll see where the vote goes, but Rob Manfred's giving you fans one vote to put somebody in. Who would it be? Should we
I
throw?
already cast my vote down at the Hall
Yep.
of Fame in Cooperstown. I was there last week, by the way. Did you know that?
Should I'm gonna tell me if I can throw this player in way back. Shoeless Joe, or should we keep it a little bit more modern?
Yeah,
Let's keep it a little bit
because,
more modern.
you know, we know the history of the Black Sox and
Yep.
Shoeless Joe Jackson and that sort of stuff. But
Let's keep it a little bit
and
more
he
modern.
was,
This one.
you know, and he was kind of what's the proper word I'm trying to say? Kind of excused for the word I'm trying to find for wrongdoing during that scandal. But
Yeah.
but I don't think a lot of people really know the whole story of that Black Sox scandal.
They probably know more about it from Field of Dreams.
Yeah, true.
So yeah, we'll keep it with the modern ones, more modern ones over there. So hit us up. We want to see where this vote goes. Quick break, and we'll do some receiver defer coming up after these quick words. All right, about 10 minutes to the top of the hour here.
Getting any texts in yet about our vote of who Pete or?
So far, it's Pete leading the way right now.
Yeah,
So
I would be surprised if he didn't. Are the Bonds, Clemens, Sosa, McGuire getting any votes?
we got I would say Bond's got a couple, not McGuire or Sosa, but so
Okay.
far it's Pete right now.
All right.
So we'll keep you posted on how that vote goes. Receiver defer time though. Well, I'll turn it over to you to get the honors.
Receiver defer. There's a 0% chance of anyone other than Ohtani or Judge getting any votes for MVP.
I'll defer it. I think Lindor's going to get some. I think Bobby Wood Jr. will get some, but it's still going to be, I mean, maybe like one or two. I don't trust voters to go 100% in baseball. So
no,
that's
I
why
don't either. But I just think it's
those two are going to run away with it.
Especially Bobby Witt kind of faded at the end of the year.
Yeah.
But boy, what a start he had. That's for sure. And also receiver defer. As I've watched the playoffs go, there's about a 75% chance Willy Adames will be a Dodger next year.
Whew. You know
I know
what?
They've got Tommy Edman playing shortstop. He's doing well. He really got him through the pennant. But I don't think for a season-long player, he's the guy. So I just think Willy Adames is going to be a Dodger next year. Receiver defer.
I'm going to defer. I say he goes to Atlanta and replaces Orlando Arcia down there.
Well, he's, Orlando Arcia is not going to take much to replace him.
Right.
But, okay, Atlanta.
But I'm just, now if you said 60, then I would have said Dodgers. It's close. It's between Dodgers and Atlanta.
How much do you think he can sign for?
Oh, gosh.
With this season that he had, and, he was the leader of this team. He really was, and we pointed out reasons why, but we noticed that. But is he?
Let me look up the highest paid shortstops right now. So Seager's got $35 million per year. Lindor's $34 million per year. Carlos Correa's $33 million per year. Trey Turner's $27.2.
I think he's $25 million a year shortstop.
I do too. Yep.
And he's not going to get that in Milwaukee, unfortunately.
Nope.
And he's not going to stay in Milwaukee to make 10 or 12 when he can go someplace else and make 25, and I don't blame him.
Yep.
It's just the way of the world.
So Willie was already the 9th highest paid shortstop this year at 12.25. But you want a gap. The 8th highest paid was Trevor Story at 22.5. So Trevor Story was 22.5. Then Willy Adames.
Trevor Story
with Boston over there. So
overpaid.
I was actually surprised Trevor Story is still playing, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
But
I think Willie is the year I'd love to be his.
Dansby Swanson's got 26. Would you rather have Dansby Swanson or Willie?
I don't think the Cubs even want Dansby Swanson anymore.
Right. So, yeah, I'm going to miss him, but yeah, there's no way.
There's no way he's coming back. But again, and he deserves it. He led this team and was he wasn't one of these basketball players that opted out. I got to have a day of rest.
Mm-hmm.
And baseball is a taxing game as well. And you're playing 9 innings. You're on the road. You're playing 3 games someplace else, and then 3 games in another city, and then a couple games there, and then home, a day off, and whatever. I just think that this guy, even when the playoff was assured, he played.
Yep.
Don't sit me down. I don't want to be set down. I want to play.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think, that attitude is, if I'm an agent, I'm using part of that as the recommendation for a high salary for Willy Adames from any team that shows interest.
Mm-hmm.
And I'd tell you, I'd be out there with about 10 teams. This is the guy you need. Because he, Boston Trevor Story, he's head and shoulders above Trevor Story.
Yeah.
I mean, I just think Willy Adames is in line to get a big contract. Maybe $25 million a year is conservative. I don't know.
Do you have any more? Otherwise, I got one.
Okay, go ahead.
Receiver defer, Dame will average more points per game this year than Giannis.
I receive that because I think Giannis, as great a player as he is, he's not the 3-point shooter that he needs to be that leading scorer. And I think that has to be established early on, and Giannis has to accept that. If they're going to be a winning franchise to be championship caliber, Damian Lillard has to be the offensive leader after one game, which doesn't show a lot, but I think it showed how this team can be a good team with Damian Lillard as a leader. As you know, I don't even think it's 1-1A.
Right.
I just think they're closer than that.
Yep.
But I just think still Damian, from the point why, I mean, Giannis is going to be defensive, assists, rebounds. But I think when it comes to the scoring book, it's got to be Damian Lillard. There'll be a lot of games where Giannis is going to score 35 or maybe even 40.
Mm-hmm.
But I still think overall they'll be better off with Damian Lillard taking that pressure off, because if he can score from outside, you got to respect him, and you got to come out on him. And that's going to open the lane for Giannis and Brook Lopez to get those set up threes, stand there at the line and shoot that three when they go off on Dame. I think too. I think that's a formula for success for the Bucks.
I know it was a sweet looking jumper, but until Giannis develops more of that consistent mid range, jumper, and we've been talking about that for how many years?
Yeah, 12, 15 footer.
Yeah, I think Dame is a guy that can create off the dribble a little bit. I'm going to receive it too. It's close. It's going to be close. We're not talking like a 5-point difference gap. I think it's going to be close, but I just got this weird feeling like Dame's going to be the offensive guy this year.
I think so too. I think so.
And that's not a bad thing.
Oh, no, not at all.
So, all right, what else did you have?
Well, we talked about it earlier, but receiver the Packers do need to make a move to help the defense before the trading deadline. Not give up the ship, but make a move to get somebody that's going to be an eye opener.
I think when you factor in how tough this division is playing out to be, that puts more of a priority on it. I don't think they will, but yes, I would like them to see. I'd like to see them do that.
Yeah, because I think the Vikings have taken everybody pretty much by surprise, and why and how they lost that game to Detroit, they just kind of fizzled. I don't know if this is going to be the story of them going down the stretch, if Sam Darnold is going to be able to keep up with what he's got. I mean, when you're throwing to Jefferson, you and I look good as a quarterback, but whether Sam Darnold can keep up this good play that he's done, it's going to be interesting. But I think the Packers need to make a move on defense because, like you said, Luke Van Ness, I don't know what it is. He some plays he seems to have all the ability in the world. Others, he looks like he's spinning around, doesn't know where he's at.
Yeah. So yeah, that's where I'd like another edge rusher, pass rusher, out there too. But I'm not going to hold my hopes up.
No, knowing the Packers, it's not that way.
Unless it's something. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know, but I don't think it's going to happen.
Receiver to fur. The Packers, the front office, they need to have some help in player evaluation when it comes to drafting defensive players. Maybe Saleh can help with this because, LaFleur is an offensive coach, but Saleh, and I don't know how much, they from the front office up on top go down and talk to the coaches and say, what do we need? And then let's evaluate some of these guys because they're defensive coaches. They can evaluate that film of these guys in college. Granted, it doesn't always translate, but I don't know. They need to be better on defensive drafting.
All right, 2 hours in. We've got one more to go. Stick around. We'll be back after these news updates. Final hour on this Thursday morning coming at you. Coming up in about 25 minutes, we'll catch up with our DNR warden buddy, Mr. Jake Boakes. Send your questions in now. Final call. Got to text those to us at 715-830-1912. We've been talking some Bucks this morning. Bucks picking up a win in their opener last night against the Philadelphia 76ers. They'll be at home taking on the Bucks, or the Bulls, tomorrow. So,
everybody says, well, it doesn't mean much because Embiid wasn't there, Paul George wasn't there. It means something. You're one up on Philadelphia if it comes to a head-to-head situation. You've already got one in the bank. I don't care if they put 5 guys in a Philadelphia uniform out there, you beat them, you're one up on Philadelphia.
And the other part is, too, if they wouldn't have beat Philadelphia, we'd be freaking out about it right now, right?
Would we ever?
So
the way that started, I wasn't really excited.
They were cold right away, clanking some threes and that.
Then they finally got together. But again, it's a win over Philadelphia, a team that's going to be competitive in the East, and who knows how important it might be down the road.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So if there's one team that you think this NBA season is maybe going to be a little overrated, who do you think it is? You thinking Knicks?
I think the Knicks are overrated. I think, because they didn't look good that opening night against Boston.
No.
Granted, it was the trophy night and the ring night and all that sort of stuff in Boston. But, the team, which team are you most excited about watching this year?
Outside Bucks?
Yeah.
OKC.
Yep. That's exactly the team that I'm looking forward to watching. And San Antonio Spurs. How much is Wembanyama going to be better than he was last year? As good as he was last year, how much better is he going to be? How much have they put around him to improve that team? I think OKC and San Antonio are going to be the fun team to watch this year. The Lakers, they get a lot of brouhaha over Bron and his kid, and the Warriors, but their time has passed.
Mm-hmm.
I think Oklahoma City and San Antonio are going to be the two to really watch their season. The Bucks are expected to be good.
Mm-hmm.
Oklahoma City is expected to be good, but how good can they be? This big kid from Minnesota that plays
Chet Holmgren.
Chet Holmgren, thank you. I think he's, he and Wembanyama, I think, are the future of the NBA.
It's good to, Wembanyama, going back to that quick too, I don't know how much he's got left in the tank. How much can Chris Paul help with that pick and roll? He's over there being the point guard there. But, Chet and Victor, because what's the narrative when they were first coming in? Well, they're tall and skinny. How long are they going to last? I hope they can change that narrative. Chet Holmgren looked really good last year.
Yes, he did. Once he got that leg fixed up that he unfortunately hurt coming in as a rookie and didn't play. But I think those two guys, they got so much ability to handle the ball. They can shoot from 3. They can play. I mean, my goodness, that's like trying to shoot over a tree.
I know.
To try and shoot over those guys, especially Wembanyama. I think that kid is such a natural feel for the game. So does Holmgren, but I think Wembanyama is just more fluid and more efficient in his game. But they're going to be two teams that are going to be fun to watch.
7'4", dude. I can't imagine trying to move around like that. Yeah. At that height. It's just, I hope they have long careers and hopefully they have successful careers. I know they did the NBA GM survey, and I think it was unanimous. Every GM picked Victor to start a team with.
Oh, yeah, exactly. And the NBA didn't do itself any favors by not putting Oklahoma City on Christmas Day. And I don't know if San Antonio's on Christmas Day.
They don't even have OKC on Christmas Day?
No. I heard that the other day when I was driving around someplace that they were mad that Oklahoma City wasn't playing on Christmas Day.
Yeah, San Antonio is. They play the Knicks.
Yep.
T-Wolves play the Mavericks, 76ers, Celtics, Lakers, Warriors, Nuggets, Suns.
No Oklahoma City.
And no Bucks either.
Yeah, no Bucks either. So anyway, market size.
Yep.
But OKC, I think, is going to make some noise before it's all over.
Mm-hmm. Hey, at least the Timberwolves are on there. They've first time in a while. And I'll be curious to see how Anthony Edwards, kind of coming out party last year, especially in the postseason. They've made some changes over there too. We'll see how that all plays out.
Now, the Pelicans are going to be another team if they can keep Williamson healthy. That's going to be another team. Memphis, there's going to be some.
Ja Morant stay out of trouble.
Yep, yeah. But he's got some help there now this year a little bit. So it's going to be fun to watch some of these other teams other than the traditional Dallas, LA, Boston. It's going to be fun. Some of these other teams from some of these other cities.
And I just appreciate the way OKC is kind of going about it too, because then they still have a lot, but they've been accumulating picks through the draft, and kind of building it that way. Not saying they've acquired players too, but they haven't been going on the free agent market and signing this person and just trading away everything. I just love the fact that they own so many first round picks, and they're favored to come out of the West this year too.
Yeah,
kind of doing it the right way.
Yep, they are doing it the right way. And I haven't heard this recently. I don't know if it's been much discussion. Expansion of the NBA, Seattle and Vegas. Have you heard much about that? That hasn't been a front burner issue for a while. It was get Seattle another team.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know. I think if they get Seattle another team soon, I think one of the guys that'll play in Seattle will be Kevin Durant. I think
to finish his career there?
Yeah,
yep.
I think he will. But I don't know when they're going to do it, if they're going to do it. But I would think they would want to. More eyes on the game.
And that was another thing on the talking heads on ESPN the other day when they were talking about Giannis. Like, one of the quotes was, I'm hearing that, he's maybe regretting not going to Miami or going to Vegas when the expansion goes there. I'm like, that doesn't even make sense because they don't even have a team there for sure.
No.
I'm like, what are we doing here, people? I mean,
well, how old is Giannis right now?
31?
Giannis is 31?
Let me double check.
But I didn't think he was that old. I didn't think he was out of his 20s yet.
Let me double
check. But
still
in all, by the time he honors this contract, of course, honor a contract, or maybe
he'll be 30 in December.
Okay. But if he honors this contract, how much appeal is there going to be to take him away from Milwaukee?
Yeah, unless they just, it's one of those, like, if it's a new team, bring him in just to get the tickets, that sort of stuff.
But I think he's going to play his whole career in Milwaukee, outside of maybe a couple of years at the end. Someone's going to try and catch fire with a guy like him to, with some young players coming up. I don't know, but where he might go, but I think he's going to be playing in Milwaukee for a while.
I hope so.
Yeah, so do I.
I hope so, because again, I will go back to it. Then this is what was frustrating me the other day, is they keep saying, these talking heads keep saying, this. They were saying that teams are watching the Bucks this year. They were asked this question on ESPN: what's the headline heading into the NBA season? And they're saying teams are saying they're watching the Bucks to see how well they do, because if they don't do well, then Giannis is going to get upset and he's going to leave. And it's just like, but the Bucks are doing everything Giannis wants them to do. So who's to blame then if they're not? You know what I mean? Like, it's like,
well, it's the talking heads.
Right.
Giannis isn't saying this.
Right.
Giannis isn't saying, I need more weapons. I need more help. And if I don't get it, I might want to get out. Giannis is not saying that at all.
Because they get Dame because of Giannis. I mean, the coaching, I'm sure the coaching changes was part due to talking with Giannis. They can deny it or whatever. They're keeping Middleton because that's Giannis's best friend. He was the best man at his wedding.
That was going to be my next point.
Yeah.
Chris Middleton is there because of Giannis.
Exactly. That all these moves are made because of Giannis. It's not like the Bucks are saying, no, we're digging our heels in and we're doing it this way. That's no. And that's part of my frustration with the NBA, though, too, is it's become such an individualized sport in a lot of essence, a lot of ways.
Right. And that's why I give Boston credit. They've got great players.
Yeah.
But that's a team.
Oh, yeah.
That's a team. They play well as a team. They share the ball. Jason Tatum is number one. Brown is number two. But then they've got all kinds of great players. Porzingis isn't even on the floor yet.
Yeah. Holiday's over there.
Yeah. Drew Holiday is over there. And, receiver to fur, the last 10 years, the Bucks major mistakes letting Drew Holiday go. And who was the other guy that was a defensive wizard?
Malcolm Brogdon?
No. That was a defensive guy when they won the championship.
PJ Tucker?
Yes, PJ Tucker. I think those are the two biggest mistakes the Bucks have made, let those guys go. PJ Tucker, when they let him go, that team, it's,
He's kind of like a Jair in essence, where he was a little talker, but he would do the dirty stuff sometimes.
Yeah, but when they let PJ, it changed the whole, vision of the Bucks, their whole status. I mean, because he was the guy that stuck in it. Drew Holiday was the same way. You see what he's done in
Well, look at
Boston.
I
I mean,
we
he
can
hasn't
all
dropped off.
we can all rewind that play in the finals against the Suns against Booker, right?
Yep.
The steal from Holiday, then the alley-oop to Giannis.
Yep.
I mean, that's a play that will rerun in every Bucks.
And I don't know if Drew Holiday, if the money was that much different, if the Bucks couldn't come up with a few more bucks and keep him. I don't know why. But it doesn't seem like they put much effort into trying to keep it. Tucker, they no effort at all. They just let him go, which everybody thought was a mistake. But when Drew Holiday left, it was kind of surprising.
It was probably what they had to do. It was part of the trade for Dame. So
yeah, I'm sure it was.
And then,
but I'll tell you,
I think everybody thought too is like as soon as because you knew that Portland was going to release him.
Yep, and Boston
like, don't go to Boston,
licking their chops.
Yep,
and he's fit right in there.
Yes, even though he grew up a Lakers fan, he said it kind of pains his family that he's playing for Boston a little bit there. But hey, dude's got another ring, so more power to it. I like Drew Holiday.
Oh, so did I. You got another
broke
ring.
My kid's heart when they traded.
Oh, I know it broke a lot. I was so disappointed because he was a real factor in the success of that team.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but Bucks again. We'll be back at it tomorrow as they take on the Bulls at home. It doesn't sound like Middleton will be playing in that game either. So,
do you think he'll play 45 games this year?
He did an interview a couple weeks ago, and he said, for him, it'd be a failure if he doesn't play 70-some games.
Oh wow!
But and I'm like,
and being effective are two different things because he played some games last year where you wonder what's he doing on the floor.
Mm-hmm.
Then there are other games he came and he was really Chris Middleton of old.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I don't know this, and he's taken time off, not because he's tired, it's because he's hurt. But some of these other guys take these, what do they call it?
Load management
days. That is so much BS. I mean, you go back to guys like Pete Rose or Willie Adamas, load management. Come on. You pay me millions of dollars, I'm going to give you my best. Not these guys. They just don't care.
Well, the talking is that Embiid's not going to do any back-to-backs this year.
Isn't that something?
Think about that.
Yeah, I don't know how many back-to-backs they'll have.
Right.
But
that's just like, okay, you might as well, like if I'm a kid or if I'm, say Hudson's a 76 fan and that's our hometown team or something like that. I'm looking at the schedule. I'm like, okay, I got to figure out which game not to go to because I want my kid to be able to see Embiid play. Well, if he's not doing a back-to-back, is that could be the first or the second game?
Yeah.
I'm going to avoid that game, one of those games then.
And I don't know
for fans.
I don't know if the commissioner in basketball doesn't have enough power, enough guts, enough whatever to say something or demand some of this stuff. And the owners sure aren't going to do it because they're catering to all these players. And the union is going to back up the players. But you're playing 82 games, and granted, it's stressful and you're traveling, but still in all, load management, I've never heard such a crazy thing.
Yeah. But I know they've tried to, schedule-wise, putting in breaks. They've got, like, the minimum amount of games for awards. But at a certain point, I don't think certain players care about awards.
No, it used to be, remember the contracts that, hey, he makes the All-Star team, it's an extra $50,000.
Yeah.
There's no incentives anymore in these contracts. If you play, get so many at bats, or it's just not there because these contracts are so huge up front.
Mm-hmm.
They don't need incentives anymore.
Well, especially for like the superstar players. Yeah. It's like I miss the days, and maybe it is like this. We just don't hear about it, but I mean, Jordan gets pissed when he doesn't win MVP. So what does he do? He takes it out on Karl Malone in the NBA Finals.
Oh yeah.
Do we have players like that anymore?
No,
I don't think so.
I think Kobe was maybe the last one.
Mm-hmm. I would agree with that.
LeBron doesn't. Great player, one of the greatest of all time. Won't argue that, but he's not cut from the same cloth as those guys.
No, I would agree with that 100%. So that's.
I gotta go. I'm tired. Man, I've had enough today, so I'm leaving. Well, I've got load management in my contract.
You actually probably do. I mean, think about it now. So.
Oh boy.
But no, you're right. That's.
I mean, it's so far away from reality. For what you and I do, and so many all the listeners out here, We got a responsibility. You call the boss, and I'm kind of tired of it. I don't think I'll come in and get a little load management.
Right.
It's
Exactly.
it's not the real world.
And I mean, come on. Yeah, I don't understand it. I don't get it. And that's where I have so many problems. I love basketball and I enjoy watching basketball, but I don't like the product we're seeing in the NBA right now.
Not at all. Not at all.
WNBA, I mean, that product right now, I thought that was I don't know if you watched any of the finals and such, but I watched a little bit of it. I'm not going to pretend like I watched every single minute or every single game.
No, I watched a little bit too, but
But that product to me, when you factor in, that was probably the best finals they could have that didn't have Caitlin Clark in it. Going game 5. I know there was drama and
yeah, what's
and
her
all that sort
story?
of stuff. Who?
What's her story?
Who?
Caitlin Clark.
What do you mean?
She announced she's stepping away from basketball, and then she announced she's not stepping away from basketball.
I didn't hear that.
Last week, I saw something or heard something that Caitlin Clark said she was stepping away from basketball. Now, I don't know what that means. The WNBA lets her step away from basketball. That's a major mistake. So I don't know what the whole story was. I never did get an in-depth story. I just saw a headline on social media that Caitlin Clark is going to step away from basketball.
So I just Googled it. It says she has not announced that she's stepping away, but some speculate that she might if she feels unsafe or unvalued.
Well, I'll tell you, the WNBA, the players, they didn't like her. I think they were jealous of
I think
her.
they were jealous, yeah.
And tell you one thing, she's their paycheck. If they want to get any more money in their paycheck, she sells out every stadium. She did in college. She did in the WNBA year. I mean, you don't have other players that have the skill set that she has. Maybe some of them in the league are better players, but she's got a skill set that is appealing to the public.
Yeah.
And if they let her step away, some of these people, kids or girls playing in that league, were unduly rough with her.
Yeah.
And, maybe she's frustrated, doesn't feel, she's part of the league.
Yeah.
And I don't know what's going to happen, but I heard that she was going to step away from basketball for a while. That means.
This was an article a couple weeks ago. She recently expressed her wish to take it easy during the offseason. Quote, "It feels like everybody is watching your every single move, no matter what you're doing. I've tried to be the same person off the court." End quote. She anticipates an adjustment period, but is looking forward to stepping away from the limelight. It's going to be nice, though, getting out of the spotlight, getting to live my life and do the things I want to do, get away and relax a little bit. So I think it's just talking about the offseason. Because if you think about it, I mean, when the Final Four national championship wrapped up, they have the draft a week, couple days after that. So, I mean, she really hasn't had any off time. And this is her real off time right now.
Yeah, but the story came out during the WNBA finals.
And yeah, this was beginning of October that this came out.
Timing and things like this as they were getting into that. And I can see where she's frustrated with the treatment she gets from some of the other I won't say all, but some of the other players in the WNBA. I don't know whether it's jealousy or I'll show you you're not that good. Well, I'm sorry, she is that good, and she has the kind of game that appeals to the fans.
I don't know if this is Caitlin Clark gets a new job offer in another sport. She is stepping away from basketball, but it's just mostly from the off season, sort of taking a break in the off season stuff. But she's been invited to join the LPGA tour. Apparently, she's a good golfer too. So.
Oh wow!
But
well, I don't think she can make the splash playing golf that she can make playing basketball.
No,
or the money.
I don't know if it'd be like a Jordan thing over there, going to baseball and that. But no, I think it's mostly just this offseason taking a break and stepping away.
But I think the WNBA had better pay attention to this, because if they let Caitlin Clark step away from basketball, they put themselves back another 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they made a huge leap forward with Caitlin Clark this year as far as attendance, as far as, notoriety, as far as exposure. The WNBA got a lot of exposure this year because of Caitlin Clark. Now, is she the best player in the league? No. Is she the most fun to watch? By far. And I don't think the WNBA can afford to let Caitlin Clark step away. Now, or if there's something they can or should do, that's the decision that they have to make. But the bottom line is they can't let her get away if they want to expand.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's she's talking about just like golfing this winter. So that's pretty much what it is. It said Caitlin Clark is making the move from basketball to golf this winter in an out of the blue career move. The rookie of the year is currently relishing a breakthrough season with the Indiana Fever. Blah blah blah. Going through, yeah, it's and while the 22-year-old Clark could have continued to impress the it was she could have played in the Unrivaled League. It's like a 3-on-3 one
Hmm.
basketball league. She has instead opted to take it to the greens and the fairways of the LPGA Tour events to Pro-Am in November. It looks like with Annika Sorenstam and such. So she could have played in that Unrivaled League and that, but she opted not to.
Yeah,
Where a lot of the other WNBA stars
I don't
go and
blame her
play.
for
So
that, and I don't know how much, that might be more of a she's probably thinking of her safety. There's a lot different like when you play basketball in the gym on a team, you got referees. 3-on-3 is like outdoor in the basket out in the out in the parking lot type of
mhm.
thing. I don't know what that might be like physically for her. So I think that's a good decision for her not to play that. I don't know what that 3-on-3 league is or what they do with it or if there's any money to be made from it or anything like that. But I think she'll get more exposure playing
Yeah,
golf, and she certainly doesn't need name recognition for more. She represents insurance companies, and I don't know if she's got her own shoe yet, but I'm sure it won't be long if she doesn't. I don't think she's going to be hurting for money.
this was from Front Office Sports yesterday. Special players attract special contract offers. The new unrivaled women's basketball league is considering a sweeping quote Lionel Messi like offer to entice Caitlin Clark to play in the league's inaugural season. The startup league's full court press to recruit Caitlin Clark is similar to the push by Major League Soccer's Inter Miami CF to woo Messi in 2023. I saw one number about 125 million. Wow.
To Caitlin Clark to play in that three
That
on
was
three for
one number being on here,
how
but
many years would that be? That can't be just one
that would
year.
not be 1 year. No.
No. Wow.
Yeah.
And I don't think she'd want to get herself tied down to, that sounds like it's I don't know, 10 years, 7 years,
Yeah,
whatever.
that would have to
I
be
can't
like
imagine that she'd want to tie herself down that long. That's a lot of money, but I don't know if she'd want to tie herself to something like that.
yeah, so this league has like Angel Reese is going to be in there. All Stars Brianna Stewart, co-founded the league, will also compete. Uh,
I don't think those.
so
I'm,
according to Front Office Sports, Unrivaled is poised to offer Caitlin Clark not just a salary exceeding of 1 million, but also equity and revenue sharing incentives. So I think that's where the number overall would come from. Okay. Yeah.
well, it sounds like they're recognizing her
Yeah.
visibility and her marketing opportunity for the league.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yep.
That'll be
So.
interesting to see if it goes. I don't know.
Mm-hmm. All right, we got to take a break, and we'll bring in Mr. Bolks, Jake Bolks, answering your questions coming up after this quick break.
Action. DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NBA. New DraftKings customers can bet $5, get $200 in bonus bets instantly. Every point counts with DraftKings Sportsbook. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app. Use code Patrick. Code Patrick for new customers. You get $200 in bonus bets when you bet just $5. Only on DraftKings. The crown is yours.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort in Kansas. 21 plus age and eligibility varies by jurisdiction. Void in New Hampshire, Oregon, Ontario. Bonus bets expire 168 hours after issuance. For additional terms and responsible gaming resources, see dkng.co/bball.
When you're hiring for your business, ZipRecruiter's powerful matching technology makes finding qualified candidates for your job easy. This made us wonder, what if the rest of the world was as easy as ZipRecruiter? Math problems wouldn't be so problematic.
K equals 42.
Escape rooms? Elementary. And summiting Everest would be a walk in the park. In the meantime, if you want to make your hiring easier, use ZipRecruiter. And right now, you can try it for free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. In fact, 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. Simple. So, see what the world is like when ZipRecruiter does the hard work of hiring for you. Just go to ZipRecruiter.com/free to try ZipRecruiter for free. Once again, that's ZipRecruiter.com/free. ZipRecruiter.com/free.
It's fall in Wisconsin, which also means it's hunting season. And to get ready for hunting season in Wisconsin, it's about time to make a visit to your favorite locally owned and operated gun store, Tilden Gun. Need a new deer rifle? Or are you looking for you or someone's first deer rifle? Or do you just want a new one just because? If you answered yes to all of those, and even if you didn't, go give Sean and Hunter at Tilden Gun a visit. The biggest and best variety and the best prices in the Chippewa Valley, Tilden Gun will help you find the deer rifle you're looking for to help you succeed in the outdoors. Have a specific model and brand in mind? With the awesome customer service you get at Tilden Gun, they will help you find just what you're looking for. They're not going to be a pushy salesperson and try to convince you to buy something that you don't want. But if you're looking for advice or help, they're right there to lend that hand. So stop by their shop at 12427 90th Avenue in Chippewa Falls or visit their website at tildengun.com. Welcome to hunting season, Wisconsin. On behalf of Tilden Gun, be safe, best of luck, and have fun in the great outdoors.
He doesn't just talk sports, he knows sports. In fact, he and sports are best friends. I saw the two of them last night knocking back a couple of cold ones. The Dan Casper Show, weekday mornings from 6 to 9. Answering your questions and giving you the tips you need to be successful and safe in the outdoors. It's time for your Outdoor Tidbits. Have a question you'd like answered by Jake? Send it to us, and we'll ask for you.
It is time for our Outdoor Tidbits with Mr. Jake Boakes, who is joining us here this morning. First of all, Jake, how did the duck hunting go last week for you?
Pretty good.
Yeah?
It was a pretty fun time, so I can't complain.
Attaboy. All right. Well, make sure you share some of the helpings with Bob and I over here whenever you get that taken care of.
Yeah.
So
Who cleans your ducks for you?
I get my mom to do that.
That's awesome.
No, I'm kidding. No, I take care of that.
How hard? I've never done it. How hard is it to pluck a duck?
Plucking a duck ain't too bad, actually. It depends, if you're going to just breast them out, if you're going to take the whole thing. If you get them right, after you're done hunting, they're still pretty malleable where you can do a lot of the work with just your hands. I was talking with a buddy after we were duck hunting and plucking some of them we were talking about doing it for turkey and, getting a full turkey and deep frying it for Thanksgiving and stuff. And I did that once when I was a kid, and that's a whole other process of plucking out a turkey carcass and such.
Yeah, I can't imagine. Hey, kind of
It takes a little bit longer than a duck.
Yeah. A little bit of speaking a little bit of that, but with deer, I know our good friends from Mike Star Market, they had reached out and they said, next time you talk to Jake, can you mention this? But Because Mike Star Market, they're also a deer donation site, correct?
Right. Right. Yeah. They're the only one in the kind of the Chippewa Valley, or even things like this part of the state. I haven't looked at the list every year. It's a little bit different, but Mike's has been the only one consistently in the program, which is awesome. So, if you're not familiar with that deer donation program, basically they work with the DNR that if you bring in a deer, they will, for whatever reason you don't want it or you want to shoot one just to donate it, you can bring a deer in there for free, drop it off, and they'll process it and get it out to people that need it and stuff like that.
So big thanks to our friends at Mike Star Market for, especially if they are the only ones in our area to do that too. So
They are. Yep. Sometimes when we seize deer, I brought deer in there. So they get brought to a good donation and stuff like that. So
Mhm.
it's a good service they do, and it's definitely appreciated. So if you ever want to harvest a deer, but you don't know what to do with it, or your freezer's full, or or you don't eat deer, or whatever the case may be, definitely look into that deer donation program and maybe drop one off there for them.
Mhm. Especially with rifle season already coming up here next month, just a few weeks away. Holy
Just a few
moly!
weeks away. Yeah, and kind of on that, on the deer note, since we're there, everyone kind of wonders or asks what to do with their deer once they've harvested them and processed them if they do it on their own. And as of a couple weeks ago, the deer dumpsters were put out at a lot of the DNR service centers or buildings in the area. So Cornell has a deer dumpster. The Eau Claire Service Center on Claremont has a deer dumpster. The DNR Service Center or field office in Menominee at the Brickyard has a deer dumpster. So those are just giant, roll-off dumpsters where it's free to bring your scraps and whatever deer you need disposed of properly to bring them there, so you're not dumping them in ditches or littering them on the roadways or whatever the case may be.
Because is that illegal, Jake, to just dump them in ditches or like
is.
public lands and that?
It is, yeah. So the littering law in Wisconsin is pretty black and white or pretty basic. It's if you deposit any sort of material that's on any public highways, public waterways, or private property without permission, no matter what that material is, if you deposit it in your own property, it's littering, and those tickets range anywhere from $200 to over $1,000. So yeah, you can't just take, even though animals will eat at it or this or that, you can't just go dump deer off at the end of a dead end road. A lot of times, the most frustrating part of it for a lot of people is just like, yeah, it makes sense. A scavenger's going to eat that up. But at the end of those dead end roads, it's somebody's private property where they might be walking their dogs, or it's a hunting area where dogs are coming out, or people, or you got to smell it. So it's not just about, dropping off and going. Other people are going to have to deal with that dead animal through the fall.
Mm-hmm.
How big a problem is that, Jake? Because it doesn't sound good. I mean, you're a deer dumpster. You think you're wasting it, but for the ends and the hooves and things like that, how big a problem is it that people are throwing that stuff around?
It's probably one of the most common complaints we get in the fall. Actually, is deer carcass littering. Because a lot of people wake up one morning and there's dead deer parts in their ditch by their driveway or by their mailbox or at their most common hunting spot, and now their dog comes back with a rotting deer leg and stuff. So obviously, the deer dumpster, we don't want, myself personally, you don't want to waste any food. So obviously, if you're going to process, get as much meat off that thing as you can. Use the hide if you want, but when you get to those scraps or you get to the parts that you can't use, bring them to that dumpster. It's free, and it's an easy way to, I guess, kind of keep yourself out of getting in trouble, but kind of being a good sportsman as well.
How much are the hides worth? Are there much demand for deer hides? I know, people will make gloves and vests and.
Yeah, I haven't heard a lot of high demand for it. I mean, they still get utilized. I don't think a lot of places. I know that you can still bring in hide, and they'll give you a free pair of gloves or something like that. If you do bring them, at least to the Eau Claire office, they do have a spot where you can dump the hides there as well. And they just take those funds, and I don't know how much they're getting for them, $5 or a couple bucks, I'm not sure, but they can bring them in, and then they take all the proceeds from those from those hides to put towards funding those deer carcass dumpsters. So if you do, if you are bringing it to throw it away anyways, maybe try to set that side aside so it can go back towards funding that program.
Mm-hmm. Jake, a quick question just came in. I know we've answered this before, but it's a good reminder. Texter says, when you're out bow hunting for whitetail, can you bring a shotgun or rifle with either to shoot a turkey or other game in season?
The short answer is yes, you can do that as long as you have all your licenses for that other, you have all the licenses for that other species. It's in season, it's in shooting hours, and stuff like that. And there's no restrictions on carrying, the bow for whatever reason, or the gun in an area where you're not supposed to have guns or something like that. So as long as, if you look at it holistically, and that you could, if you could be in that spot doing both those activities, at the same time anyways, you can combine them, yes. Don't get offended if the game warden questions you a little bit further than just, hey, how's it going?
Mm-hmm.
If you come out bow hunting with a shotgun on your sling down your back or something like that, don't get offended, because we wouldn't be doing our job if that didn't, raise a red flag or kind of intrigue you, like, what are you doing with that thing?
Yeah, exactly.
So it's definitely something you can do. You obviously want to think about the safety aspect of it, carrying around a gun and a bow and climbing and walking and this and that. But there's nothing that says you can't. Just be mindful of the optics of it and the safety of it.
Speaking of shotguns and that the pheasant season just opened up. Was it last week or a week or so ago?
Yeah, the 19th. So that would have been last Saturday.
Okay.
So, last Saturday, talked with a lot of hunters about it. Actually, I hear a lot of good stuff. A lot of people shooting a lot of birds. Obviously, a lot of them in the state are stocked and whatnot. But still, there's still some naturally reproducing ones here and there. But a lot of people shot at least a bird opening day, or at least through the opening weekend there, and sounds like it was a good time. So yeah, that season's in full effect now, all the way through kind of the beginning of January time frame.
Can you just off the top of my head for that, is like road hunting for that? I know when we talk about deer hunting, you got to be a certain amount of yardages off
Right.
the road and such. What about when it comes to like pheasant hunting? If I'm driving down and I see one on the road, can I jump out and take my
Yeah.
shot?
I hope I'm not coming the other way when you're doing that.
Again, there are some legal aspects of that, but again, don't get offended if a game warden comes ripping on you with lights and sirens and questioning what you're doing. So,
Mhm.
so when it comes to guns, at no point can there ever be a loaded gun or like a loaded crossbow, which is like a bolt in your cocked crossbow and stuff. Like, at no point can you ever have any loaded firearms, weapons, anything in your vehicle. The second rule that would apply in that situation is that generally, like deer, you cannot hunt within 50 feet of the road center. It's any road, like a dirt road or anything, or discharge within 50 feet of the road center. Now, the little legal aspect, the little exemption that seems to exist in everything, the one exemption is that they call it the gravel road exemption. Whereas if you're hunting small game, if you're using shot size smaller than size 4, if you're along like a public hunting area or your private land or land with consent on each side, then you could potentially shoot a pheasant off the road if you hit all those parameters. Gravel roads, the right kind of ammo, the right permission, all that kind of stuff. Usually, that to get all those parameters together at the right moment to have a bird out there is very rare. There's usually some sort of violation with it. Not saying that someone couldn't do it, but you just have to be careful when you're doing it if you're going that way. What we always encourage, obviously, for safety and stuff like that, is to get out, in the grass, in the woods, and hunt down those species that way.
If I'm good with a slingshot, could I use a slingshot? I'm just kidding.
Actually, I mean, a lot of stuff you can't because it's not considered
Really?
one of like the So there's different things you could potentially use it for, but for a lot of stuff, actually like you couldn't use it on like a deer or this or that because they define that you have to use some sort of firearm or a bow.
Gotcha. Go ahead, Bob. I didn't mean to cut you off.
No. I just thinking about all this, going to deer hunting, and I think you've talked about this before, Jake. It's been brought up, but when you hunt, and deer hunting is a lot of driving. 6, 8 guys
Yeah.
drive a woods, and you get down to the other end, and somebody comes to pick you up. All of a sudden, the guy says, "Oh, I forgot all your gun cases." Now, has the law been because years ago you had to have a gun case?
Right.
Now, did I hear you say recently, or one of the programs we've been with you, that as long as you unload the gun, it doesn't have to be cased to go back to where your car is?
Right.
Or is that law has changed now, right?
No, yeah, you're you're right on with that. We probably talked about it a little bit last year leading up to the season. So it was right about a little bit before I got hired, so a little bit over a decade ago, where they changed the law where you do not have to have a cased gun anymore at any time in a vehicle, whether that's in the act of hunting or just transporting it or whatnot. You could buy a gun at the store, never buy a case, go hunting, go on drives, whatever. You don't have to case a gun. Now, again, we always kind of default back to the safety aspect because if you put it in, a case, then you're probably more likely making sure it's unloaded and it's going to protect your gun better and stuff like that. So we encourage you to case it, but nope, you don't have to case it. The main thing is if you're in any vehicle, any motor vehicle, including ATVs, boats, whatnot, is that when those vehicles when you bring it inside and when it's in motion, you have to have the guns unloaded. So if at least drop out the clip or the mag, and take one out of the chamber. Some people keep the loaded magazine still in their gun, and that is a loaded firearm. And I was actually reading through the rigs yesterday about that, and it explains it very well in our hunting rigs this year. So make sure you just take all the ammo out of that gun and totally separate it like you're supposed to separate it when you store them at home.
So we can look like we're in Texas. They hang all those rifles and shotguns in their back window of their pickup trucks on racks.
Heck yeah, you could do that. I have seen a lot more of like the seat covers that sling over the back.
Yeah.
Like a holder on each side, so
Yep.
you can kind of slide it back and forth. And I honestly don't really hate that idea, except for my dog would always run into the gun at the top. But it's you don't have to have them cased.
Hey, last question, Jake. This came through our texting line here quick. If you have your concealed carry, can you carry a sidearm for protection while bow hunting?
Yes.
Okay.
And you can actually, even if you don't have your conceal and carry, you could legally carry a handgun for protection while bow hunting if it's open carried too. So the CCW, the concealed carry permit, allows you to put that, within your waistband or put it on your hip and then put a jacket over it. So anytime you're putting like a winter jacket or your Blaze Orange over a handgun, you have to have your CCW. If you don't have it, you can still bring it out for safety purposes or whatnot, but you have to strap it on the outside of whatever clothing you're wearing.
Good stuff there, Jake. A lot of good stuff here, and I know Jake's going to be joining us in studio here in a couple weeks.
Oh, bring a sample of duck in.
I will. I'll go
I haven't
shoot you a
eaten
coot,
duck. I haven't
especially
eaten
for
duck in
you.
a long time. Is it
Duck
still?
is
Is
good.
it greasy? As
Oh.
people say, it's greasy. I haven't eaten duck in a long time.
No, it's just it's how you cook it. But
Okay.
but I'll bring you some coot in. Everyone loves coot. I'll bring you that.
There you go.
Coot. Now that sounds like something from the hills of Tennessee.
Get some crane. It's the ribeye of the sky.
There you go.
know.
No, I'm
I
all
still
in
gotta
now.
try that myself.
Yeah. JK, we appreciate it, buddy. Be safe, and we'll catch up with you again next week. Okay, bud?
No, that sounds great. Thanks, guys.
You got it.
Have a
Jake,
good week.
you too. Jake Boakes, Conservation Warden for the state of Wisconsin. Quick break, and we got some picks and predicts. Football game tonight. Some of our listeners will be probably paying attention to it. Vikings are playing tonight, so
On special network.
Amazon.
Not me.
Yeah.
I won't watch.
We'll be back in just a couple minutes. All right, it's time to wrap up things here this morning with some picks and predicts brought to you by our good friends from the Elbow Room in Eau Claire. So, if you're looking for somewhere to watch tonight's game, you can head on over to the Elbow Room and watch Minnesota take on LA. The Elbow
Rams
Room.
or the Clippers?
Rams.
They'll
Clippers
win.
are a basketball team. They're a big boy.
Or the
Chargers.
Chargers.
Just call them San Diego.
Well,
Just
they're
call
all
them San
the same,
Diego.
yeah. I do that once in a while too.
They're still San Diego to me. So, the Elbow Room located right next to the Banbury Place. Minnesota taking on the Rams of LA. Who you got?
Minnesota. Is Cooper Kupp playing?
Cooper sounds like he is playing.
Well, he might. I don't know. The Vikings are playing good football. I was surprised they got beat by Detroit. They got off to that lead and then just kind of went into a funk. I was surprised they got beat by Detroit at home.
I am going to go Minnesota, but go Rams.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Go Rams.
Anytime anybody plays in our division, you want the other team to win.
Yep. So
That's just the way of it.
Son of a gun. Chicago is playing Washington, but it sounds like Jane Daniels isn't playing. So it's like,
that's too bad.
I know. Wanted Washington to beat Chicago.
Yeah,
so.
they catch a break there.
Mm-hmm. So maybe it'll change.
Marcus Mariota didn't play bad when he came in. Maybe, I don't know. It takes a while for some guys to kick in. Maybe he did. He saw some of the highlights. He ran well. He threw well. Who knows?
Yeah. Let's do a couple NBA games. OKC at Denver. That should be a good one.
I'm taking OKC. I just think that's going to be a fun team to watch. And I know Aaron Gordon and Joker, those guys are very, very, very good. I think it's just going to be a good game, but I'll take OKC.
I'm going to go OKC as well. How about San Antonio at Dallas?
I like San Antonio. I like these young guys. Wembayama, I'm taking him too. I think Luka Doncic is a tremendous player. I just don't want him on my team.
Mm-hmm.
He's not, I don't know. He just doesn't inspire me to think that he can raise the level of talent of the other guys around him.
Mm-hmm. I'll go Dallas. And then Minnesota at Sacramento.
Sacramento's a lot better, but Minnesota did not look good against the Lakers the other night. They got to get better. I think they will. Anthony Edwards, it's one thing to be called a star and it's another thing to be a star. And I don't think he is a star yet. I don't think he performed out well in the Olympics, but I think he can get them. And I think Minnesota will win this game. I think Anthony Edwards is going to be a star.
Mm-hmm.
He just has to grow into it.
I'm going to go Minnesota tonight as well. So those are your picks and predicts brought to you by the Elbow Room. Forgot to mention this.
World Series, who do you think's going to win the first game?
Oh, first game tomorrow? I'll go Yankees.
Yeah, I think they got better pitching to start the game tomorrow, and I think so too. I think the Yankees are going to win the series.
Mm-hmm. That's kind of where I'm leaning towards too.
That would be to 28, and of course they've got the big the Hall of Fame. I'll go back to the Hall of Fame. They've got the trophy there, 27, and they got all the years flashing up there, and so that's it. That's for baseball. That's title town.
I forgot to mention really quick here when we were talking about the WNBA a little bit earlier. Milwaukee, by the way, Milwaukee's ownership group for the Bucks did submit a bid for a WNBA team in Milwaukee. So
interesting.
We'll see. There's other teams or other cities, including Philadelphia, Austin, Kansas City, Miami, Central Florida, Nashville, Charlotte, Denver, and potentially Cleveland. WNBA is considering those proposals too. So
how many would they like to expand to? They've got to get a better talent base of players. I mean, you just can't expand to expand. You've got to have enough players to go around, and I'm not sure that they do to go maybe more than 2 or 4 at the most.
Yeah, the Journal Sentinel doesn't have a number right now, but I couldn't imagine it exploding that. You don't want to do that.
No, because I don't think they've got the talent base yet.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so we'll see. But definitely, I'm assuming they'd play at the Fiserv Forum, so that's not a bad facility to have.
But the thing is, the WNBA is growing, and it's getting more appeal, bigger crowds, better players, but they don't have enough yet to go too crazy.
Right. Yep. So keep an eye on that. But they've got Leroy Butler a couple of years ago said he wanted to explore getting some investors together. Enrique Ogumbawale, who currently plays with the Dallas Wings, said, quote, Milwaukee is a basketball city for sure. You see how people support the Bucks. If we have a good team, the city will support the women as well.
Yeah,
So-
Marquette has a good following, great following. Milwaukee is a basketball town, no question about it.
Yep.
It's not a football town by any means.
Nope. So pay attention to that. Maybe we'll see it's coming here soon.
Interesting.
All right. You have
Tired.
your-
I got to take a little downtime.
Yeah, go
now.
take a load
Gotta
management
go
day
take a
now.
load management day. See you next week.
The rest of us will pick up your slack as usual. So
I'm used to that.
DP and Adanitz are up next. Have a good Thursday. We'll wrap up the week tomorrow morning, just past 6 a.m. Talk to you then.